There you go.
Is that on camera?
It's going there now.
It's on now.
Okay, so if you speak, it's going to zoom in on you. So, oh, thanks. Things I can't read.
I don't know why we have two copies of the same things. Yeah, but one's just upside down. There's no need for two copies. But that's fine.
Oh, they're the same.
Yeah.
One's upside down.
One's upside down to identical.
That's okay. It's just paper.
That's what we got. That's what I mean.
Thank
We got nothing.
Are they identical?
Or
Yeah,
we
yeah,
missed-
no, these ones are both A1.
They're identical.
Okay,
All right, we ready to go?
we're ready to go, guys.
Okay,
Are you ready to go?
we're live?
All
Okay,
right.
here we go. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's a committee meeting between the Township of Bonnechere Valley and a meeting with the EACDG group. It's a meeting that they requested, so when they had the engineering drawings, they were going to present them to us, so I believe they have the engineering drawings. So right now, there's one item on the agenda. It's new outstanding invoices. Is there anything else that we want to add to right now? No? Okay, can I get a motion accepting the agenda? Merv? Thank you, Merv. All in favor? Okay. Delegates, we have no, who are the delegates? Who's going to be presenting?
Yeah.
Executive,
Sorry?
the executive.
And they are?
Myself, William Enright, Don Bishop, and Claude Chartrand.
Okay, do you guys want to come to the table?
We do. Take a chair. So I'm just a little confused. I thought that you people had requested we come to this meeting, but
We were
Other way
informed,
around.
we were informed that you guys are going to present the engineering drawings. That's what Counselor,
well, you have the engineered plans, but just before we present those, I want to ask Claude just to make one clarification, please.
So Madam Mayor and fellow councillors, last week there was an article in the Eganville Leader that was presented, and I was quoted in the article. I have a copy of it here. The title of it is EACDG denies any role in alleged damage to turbines. There's one statement I'd like to clarify there, and I quote, Mr. Chartrand said the group does not want to focus on appeasing council. That's referenced right near the end of the article. And I want to apologize for that statement, and I feel that I was misinterpreted during my statement. And I want to clarify that the purpose of that quote was to say, Mr. Chartrand said the group does not want to focus on appeasing a councillor, not council as a whole. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
so, okay, then let me comment on that. If you're bringing that up, you made some comments in there, Claude, that do not represent what transpired. Like, I personally did not put the rocks in. I personally was not responsible for putting the rocks in. So can you clarify that?
Everything that's in the article I stand by, except that one statement.
So you're in agreement that I put the rocks in?
Yes, during the emergency permit, yes, it's clear that you, yourself and Paul Kilby were in charge of putting the rocks in. Maybe you didn't physically put them in there, but you were in charge of the project.
You were at the meeting on November 6th. The direction was given to Paul Kilby and Brian Martin to do it. I was there to ensure for the ability for the plan. I was not told what rocks to put in. That decision was already made. So that's fine. If you stick by that, that's all I want. I wanted them that you agree to your statement. So carry on.
Okay, so you have the plans presented to you. So what we are asking for today is approval to proceed with the Boardwalk project.
Okay, so one of the things that Brent had sent out an email to council asking for any technical questions that we might have my hope was that Kimberly Lehman, the drafts person, might be here today if there were any technical questions. So that's a concern, or can we get the engineer on the phone if there are any technical questions? And I mean technical, like,
Kimberly Lehman is not an engineer. She
I-
just drafted the drawings.
I
But,
understand that.
Engineering, I'll turn that over to the fellows that are in charge of the project.
So they have engineering diplomas then? So they have the right to speak as the engineer?
No,
Listen, Jack.
Jack, don't take the meeting where it shouldn't go. You have engineered plans, the drawing, you asked us to present stamped engineered drawings. They are there. If they're not good enough for you, tell us. We will pack up and go home. We're not playing any games. We're not staying in the sandbox with you. Sorry.
I think, though, the purpose of this was, I personally can't read these. And so I'm going to rely on somebody in the room that does have an engineering diploma to ask if there's anything on this that the township should be worried about. This is our land and it'll be our liability once this project is complete. I don't think that there's anything unfair about asking some technical questions if there are some concerns.
Well, it was very unfair to suggest that a drafts person be asked those questions. She is not an engineer. So what good would it have done to have her here today?
Well, in speaking to an engineering firm in Toronto, they said that they would let a draftsperson speak. So, or at least take back questions to the engineer that stamped them.
Let me make a comment on this. The engineered drawings were done with myself and Claude and 2 engineering firms, and it was a collaborative effort back and forth to get things done. If you have a question, perhaps we can answer it for you.
But when things go south, the engineer that stamped the drawings is who's responsible in the end, aren't they?
That's
right.
correct.
There you go.
So you
That's
either
right.
trust those engineers or you don't.
Okay.
I don't think,
And I'd like to know what Councillor Rosner's engineering qualifications are. Is he a civil engineer? Is he a hydroelectric engineer?
I never said I was an engineer. I'm an engineering technologist.
oh,
Mayor Murphy is the one who said I have the engineering.
my bad.
I've worked with engineering fields for 20+ years. I've seen countless engineering drawings. So I know how to read an engineering drawing. That's all.
Okay.
I think in order to be productive, Madam Mayor, if there's any specific questions that do require the engineers, we can certainly attempt to get them on the phone at a future date. Perhaps it'd be most constructive to get those questions in writing. And then we've always dealt with our engineers, specifically in Calgary, by telephone or by email. So if there's a technical question that needs clarification and we can't answer it, writing is the best in my approach, and we'll forward it off and see what the answer
We
is.
had also been informed that if there was any questions, that we would have got them in writing by May 30th, which we haven't.
Okay, well, I didn't have any technical questions because again, this is not in my wheelhouse. My only thought was to ask Kimberly to come and join us, so.
And as far as the qualifications of the engineers, there was no specific request for any specific qualifications. We were asked to bring engineered drawings to the table. We've completed that obligation.
Well, quite frankly, they're either professional engineers or they're not.
They are.
There's no, so an engineer is an engineer.
They're stamped and they have their engineered certification number on the stamp itself. So that tells me that they are qualified.
And if there is any remaining, say, items that the group can address, then we can, if we get a written question, we can refer that to the engineer and they could answer those if their answers aren't sufficient. But I think they can walk through majority of the drawings, no problem.
And to be clear, we have checked with the engineers as we go through this process. If there are any changes that need to be made, that we will discuss it with them. We will have that from them in writing and approved. And at the end of the project, that list will be an amendment to the drawings and will be kept as the total project.
Okay, so Mr. Chairperson, do you have questions that you
I
want to
have
ask
questions,
now?
but you want me to ask the questions? I can ask some of the questions. I will ask some questions. If we look at the engineering drawing, let's take in, for example, the blowout, where you blow it up of the top of the flange. You have I believe it here, hang on, there's 8 primary and 8 secondary steel piers that are in there. The secondary and the 8 primary, the difference between those, is that just the mounting connection on top? Or what is the difference between primary and secondary?
So point out on your drawing what you're exactly talking about.
If you look at the top of the drawing, it says secondary and primary rows. What's the difference between the secondary and primary?
So you're talking about the fishing dock or the tourist dock?
I don't have, all I have is one
You were just
drawing.
handed a set of drawings.
No, the
No,
drawings
they're
I'm setting
exactly
are
the
both the
same.
same. You can look at them. There's no fishing dock.
Well,
I never
I'm
received
sorry
fishing
that you
docks.
didn't get the right drawings.
So I'm talking about the one drawing that I have.
We're not
And
talking fishing dock.
We're not talking fishing dock. This is Boardwalk where it says provide 7 secondary rows or provide 8 primary rows. What's the
Okay, so
difference?
the answer to that is the primary rows are where the connection of the open web joist go, and there's a very robust I-beam that's in that connection. In between, the engineers asked for a secondary row to add more strength to the project. And it was considered that was the easiest way to go, so that's what we did.
So you're telling me that both of them have the same connection on top then?
Yes,
Then how come when you look at it, if you look at the blowout, the difference, there's a difference of the board material on top. The frame that goes up. The primary is twice the width of the secondary.
that is a flange that goes from the top of the I-beam, and it's part of the open web joist. And the difference is the secondaries have to be slotted in through the center of the open web joist.
So they're not the same, then the mounting arrangement is
That's
different.
correct.
Where do you see that?
If you look at the top of the secondary and the primary, you can tell the difference in the width where it goes up and mounted on. The secondary is narrower than the primary one,
Oh,
if you look at the top.
and so,
And
and so these X's then are the steel core galvanized wire rope?
Yeah.
These X's.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me learning.
Yeah. So how is this thing mounted on top of the screw piles?
It's welded.
So you're welding, it's galvanized,
There's a
right?
steel plate, and it's called an additional flange support that's welded to the top of the screw piles that have been laser cut to be leveled. On top of that, then there's the I-beam that goes across, and it's welded to the support plate. And on top of the I-beam is welded the open web joist at the specific distances located in the bottom of the drawing.
So you're welding it, not bolting it like
That's
they do
correct.
with most screw jacks. Okay. So you're welding, and it says this plate is provided by others. We don't have a drawing of this plate.
It's written right there, the size of the plate.
No, it's not. There's no dimensions on
Okay, well,
any
we
of
have the
them.
plate, and it's 8 inches, 6 inches by 12 inches. They've already been produced.
And now, and what's the gussets?
The gussets?
Yeah.
On that, the same material.
No, normally when you have an engineering drawing, you have drawings that represent the whole package together. This is what I mean. There's no piece by
And Jack, what
package.
I mean is the fact that we have already discussed this with the engineers. This is their feedback to us, and I just explained to you that any changes or additions that they go along will be in writing and added to the final project sheets.
And I would say any changes should be run by us as well, because we're going to be responsible at the end of the day, not a package at the end of
So-
it, after
so-
everything's built.
I take it this 13 and 15 is just a clerical error where it says on the top of the drawing, it says W8 by 40, provide 13. If you look down in the drawing, it says 15. So that's just a mistake. There should be 15.
Tell me what you're looking at again.
The top of the drawing, if you look at the top of
Okay,
the drawing,
W8,
provide 13 steel I-beams. You go down to the bottom of the drawing, it says provide 15 W8 steel I-beams.
yeah, that's a clerical error.
Yeah,
There will be 15, Jack.
well, I know, I did the math. It has to be 15. You can't get away with, you can't do 13.
So yeah, it's a mistake on the drawing.
Yeah.
One question I have, if I may, the trusses that are being used, where were they from?
They were donated by Cloutier's Construction in Pembroke.
And were these trusses used once upon a time?
Yes,
Or
they were.
okay, has anybody checked the integrity of these
Yes,
trusses?
they have.
And is that stamped?
And it's stamped right there by Bill Van Gool.
Okay.
So he actually came and looked at the trusses?
Oh, I wondered what that was.
He stamped and looked at the trusses. The other question I have, you show that 10 feet out, you're only gonna have 6 feet of water, is that correct?
That's correct.
So you say 10 feet out, you're only gonna have 6 feet of water.
The bottom of the river changes from one end of the dock to the other, and the average it runs, at some places it's only 3 feet, and other places it's 6 and 7 feet.
10 feet out.
Mhm.
When they were in doing the stone in the fall, there was a lot more, that hole was reaching down to almost its full length, and it wasn't out 10 feet.
We had the guys from the screw pile company come in and they did the test probes into the bottom. They put the day they put the ones onshore in, they were supposed to continue with the ones 10 feet out. What we did find out was the bottom was inconsistent at that level, but it was between 4 and 6 feet of mud and debris that were in the bottom. They could not get their proper torque when they installed the screw piles. Do you know how they install screw piles?
I know how they install,
Okay.
like, that's what the next question was. This
So
this
that
5
is
feet
when
is
the
not relevant.
engineers came about with putting, and you can see in the top left-hand corner, top right-hand corner, there's a steel, it's actually a spar, and it's attached to a pile sleeve, and then that is augmented by galvanized wire rope from one corner to the other. That was the design and the engineer. We had expected that we were going to have to do that at each location, and they came back and said, no, you don't have to do that. And the reason why is if you look at this dock, like a 4x8 sheet of plywood that's attached to the shore on a horizontal plane, you can't move.
So the screw jacks that are putting in 5 feet or 6 feet out or 10 feet out, they're going in based on hydraulic pressure, not on depth,
No,
right?
they're not going in based on hydraulic pressure at all. That's why all this extra cabling and spars are being put in to take up any concerns at that method.
So that's gonna take up any pressures that we have for mice.
That's what he's saying
That's-
about that
No, no, but-
bridge in Boston, remember that they
Yeah, yeah,
use
but-
the cabling? It makes it's better for ice and,
No,
ice not-
but normally the screw jacks are put into hydraulic pressure. That's, you know how deep they go. That's how you tell you that the screw jack is set. That's the
Perhaps
way
I
a screw
can
jack.
clarify we know based on the test that we done, that the screw jacks will not get the required pressure. That's why there's additional bracing there. We know going in that we're not going to get the required pressure. We will get some pressure. It depends on where it is and how much pressure we're going to get, but we're not going to get the desired amount. That's why the extra bracing.
And he's done analysis on that extra bracing to accommodate for ice push.
That's why the stamp's there.
Go ahead, Murph.
My question on the screw jacks is that you had to put stone in to reach the first one. How are you going to reach the second row 10 feet out?
We didn't have to put stone in to reach the first
Well,
one.
that's what I was told of the reason to put the stone in the first place. So
The
you couldn't
stone
take
was to fill the shoreline in so that there could be a lead up of grass to the edge of the dock and the whole level right along. Going 10 feet out, they use an excavator to have to reach to do that.
Okay.
So to clarify, Don, there's no more stone that has to be added into the river?
Not on the ones out farther.
Yeah.
But because of the tampering that was done last November, we had the shoreline perfectly straight. It is no longer straight there anymore. So there has to be a little bit of material put in there.
And that's what we talked about with how the steel web joists go up the fascia board will drop
That's
all the
right.
way down, and then the sill cloth will go up to it pretty much to prevent any erosion going into the river.
Yeah,
Correct?
so to clarify that for the
Yeah,
council,
because Brent sent us an email, and again, I'd like to hear it. It was great,
Mhm.
great information, but so you're,
you have seen the pictures of the proposed, what the boardwalk would look like with all
Yes.
the lawn and picnic tables that would be there. That material has to be built up because the dock has to be a certain height out of the water to accommodate the different levels of water, winter, spring, and summer.
how high is that?
It is going to be approximately, in summertime, we're going to be, on what we measured the other day, with 18-inch fluctuation between the seasons, we're going to be approximately 28, 30 inches off the surface of the water.
You're going to raise that 2 feet or whatever to along the edge.
On the far end, it doesn't have to be raised at all.
Well, this is what I'm coming at. How are we going to drain this thing? I mean, you've got a boulder, it drains from the north.
The material that's going in there is going to be drainage material below the cloth, the filter cloth. On top of the filter cloth, will be another type of drainage material, and then there will be granular or whatever gravel, and then topsoil.
So you're willing to accept the responsibility then if this doesn't work and we flood the creamery ground floor and the spring runoff, you're going to accept the responsibility for that?
This is all in here.
It's not in there, there's no grade in there.
Okay, are we going to accept the responsibility for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to
expect, Mervyn, the creamery has never flooded and
Yeah, but they never had 2 feet edge along the river neither.
The lot is going to be sloped towards the bridge. There's an eco garden at the end of the bridge that MNRF wants in there, and they want any water coming down that slope is going to then move into that eco garden to provide nutrients to be taken out.
That was the other thing I was going to ask about, actually, because in your email you said about erosion. So what does this?
So the
little garden
erosion, what
do?
it does is on the land side of the open web joist, there's a bulkhead of 2 by 8 that are 12 feet long, going the entire length 3 high. Okay, that sits there. When we start to fill in on top of the stones, the filter cloth comes in and runs up the side of that bulkhead, and then it's filled in against that. So nothing can get through there with the filter cloth. And just so you know, technically, filter cloth does not allow water or fluid to move it through it directly horizontally. It flows vertically. It flows horizontally through the cloth.
Any provision for handicap access?
There is, and this whole thing we've said, these are handicap accessible docks, and there's going to be on the boardwalk, the Torse dock, there's going to be 3 paving stones access from the parking lot up so people can walk directly or roll directly on.
And there has to be railing on it.
It's on land.
No, the boardwalk's over the water.
No,
I'm
no,
not talking,
we're talking the access is on land.
Yeah, but
and
the
it does not
boardwalk-
have to have railing on it.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
I checked with our building inspector and he confirmed.
that's not the issue. Why are we getting, let's stick to the issue.
Well,
So, let's,
Hey,
if
no,
we're
I
going to
was-
approve it, then we'll follow the recommendations and conditions. But let's see if we're going ahead with this first,
Okay,
please.
there's no railing on the tourist.
There's a dock, or sorry, there's a trip rail along the whole edge, which is the same on docks all around Ontario.
How high is it?
This is going to be 7.5 inches high.
And it's sitting on blocks.
It's sitting on blocks.
It'll be higher than that.
Can we have a railing?
Well, if you have a railing, then it's for the access as a boat coming in, it doesn't work.
Why can't we have rope access?
There's no need of having a railing there with the trip rail there.
I don't know, I'm not very sure-footed, so I'd be the first one to follow it.
Well,
Trip over
the
there.
Pembroke boardwalk, it has the exact same, pretty much same as what we have here.
But it's not over the water.
it's on land.
It's on land.
Okay, but their dock and all their docks in there, they don't have any, not even a trip railing on it.
Well, that's a matter that I'll take up with the accessibility, but when I talked to our building inspector, he told me directly that we need a minimum 3-foot railing on it.
On a dock,
What is it?
it's a dock.
This
It's
is,
a boardwalk dock.
Madam Mayor, when we
It's-
initially engaged in the project, we approached the building inspector for Bonnechere Valley, and he said that this was not part of his jurisdiction, that he had no input and did not want to be involved in the project.
Because it's
That
not
was
attached
clear
to a
right from
building
the
and it's
beginning.
not over the water.
But surely he must have an opinion.
Yeah, we simply asked him if he wanted to be involved in the project and and be, for inspection purposes, and he said it fell outside of his jurisdiction and there was no requirement to do that.
Okay, so I understand that you didn't need a building permit because it's not attached to a building. I fully understand that. When we built our deck on our house, we didn't realize we didn't need a building permit. We got one anyway. But surely there are things in the building code that speak to this kind of concern.
Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, they were the ones that have to issue the permit for the dock to go in.
Okay.
And they've
No,
done.
no, and I get that. You don't need a building permit. But certainly-
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so one thing I'd like to say is in a recent few weeks, it's been brought to my attention, we're on the hook for some pretty big liability because of what has happened on municipal property. Almost, I would say, very close to $1 million.
Not even our municipal property.
But still, we have
That's
to-
right. So we don't want to, we don't want to come
What
down
was
hard.
that? What's that, Tim? What did you just say?
Well, just was-
We are being, I don't know what, or how
How
much.
far can you go?
Just that there's some known liabilities that have come to our attention.
That's right.
that we
So-
have to be
so-
cognizant of.
I
Yes.
think what we're talking
So-
about.
so
is
just
that
wait a
since
second.
We've been.
Close.
Just wait, I'm talking here, guys.
Well,
Just
let
listen to me.
Tim finish.
I just want to make sure that we make the right decision with everything going forward, that we don't create any further liabilities than are what required for the people of Bonnechere Valley. And I know we seem to be a little hard sitting at this table, but we have to be. It's our job to be hard on some of these decisions, because I don't want to be the guy sitting here saying, okay, this is good to go, without thoroughly giving it my investigation and looking, because at the end of the day, if somebody gets hurt over something and I say it's okay, I don't want that to happen. We have to give it a little extra detail, okay, guys? And when we're asking about railings and stuff, I think we have to be able to get that question out there. We have to look after the best interest of the municipality.
But I think in order to be fair, Madam Mayor, we should have had this conversation back when we initially proposed the boardwalk. Now, we weren't questioned about railings initially. We weren't questioning about specific details. We were advised, bring us some engineered plans, and that's where we're at today. We're at the final stages and ready to start construction, and now we're bringing up railings.
Well, how could we
Like,
ask
that should
questions?
have
How could
been-
we ask questions before we had the drawings? Maybe the drawings.
The drawings were, Mervyn, the drawings were presented a long time ago. They weren't engineered drawings, but you saw the concept.
Well, the
design
concept
last
I
year.
saw was architectural. I was an
But there were
architect.
no railings, and there never were any railings intended to be part of it. I want to go back to the accusation that seems to have been made about liability and.
No, I just want to make sure that we prevent liability.
Well, no, but you said that I.
Not with you
No,
guys.
it has
It's nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with you.
Oh, hang
No,
on.
no.
Okay,
Sorry.
everybody simmer down.
No. There's nothing to do with you or this group. Sorry, I don't want to do that.
Sorry, it
It's
just
it's
sounds
another,
like-
it's another issue totally, and I don't want to get into detail on it. I
We're not
can't.
allowed to get into
No,
detail. It has
But I
nothing to
just
do
seen
with you
stuff
guys.
coming up, guys, where we've
Oh,
been.
I only bring that up because we have been accused.
Oh, yeah,
publicly
no,
of causing
no,
trouble.
That's
No,
not
no.
at
And
all
I'm
what I
tired
was
of hearing
getting at.
that story.
That's
Okay.
not what I was getting at. I'm sorry if
Yeah.
I went across as that. Sometimes we're.
That's a different situation. We got something.
No, we've
Okay.
been on the hook for it. And that's what I'm trying to get across, guys, is we want to add to this neighborhood. We want to add to the
So I
community.
just want to say something as chair of this group. We've been organized for 2.5 years. Our mandate was to make improvements to the village and the surrounding area. We think we have contributed a lot to the beautification of the community. We work hard with our volunteer time and money. We have seen new investment come into the community. We have seen many new people coming into the community. We had enjoyed a great rapport with the former council, but ever since this council has come into place, we have been faced with barriers, challenges, and I'm not saying that some of the, yes, ask questions, but to change the game as we are moving along. When we came here in the winter, when we came here last fall, everything was laid out on the table, with the exception that the drawings were not engineered. We were told, bring the engineered drawings and you will have our approval.
Gerald, these are the first plans I've seen, okay?
First plan.
So listen,
we have
just wait a
sketches
second.
and
I had a mandate to look after the ratepayers' bank account. And I told the people that I would do my best to do so. So if I'm going to be doing that, I've got to make sure and ask the questions, Gerald. It just has to be done. And I've seen what happened when people have went outside of work permits and raised a little bit of questions in the past. So with people going above and beyond of what they were supposed to do, I have all the right to question some of the things that are being
You
presented to
do,
me.
but we're not asking you for a penny, so I don't know where the taxpayers' money comes in.
The taxpayers' money comes from when something goes wrong on this property, they're responsible for it. And anything, it's township property, guys.
That's
Okay,
right.
hang on.
That's right. So we've got to maintain this.
These two
Okay.
stamps.
It's pretty simple. There's no accommodation for a railing at the present time. If that's going to be something that we have to look into, let's look at it. But right now, there's no plans for a railing. It's as simple as that. The engineer plans are there, so.
So I agree with what Tim just said. Our newer members of council never really saw that architectural look. I always assumed that those posts that came out at the top of the boardwalk, that was going to facilitate a railing. So maybe this is on me. I would like to look at a railing. I think it's important.
The engineers that did this, they stamp it, they understand the liabilities that's involved putting this dock in. They do this day in and day out.
Okay.
So that's number one. Number two is you can go to any community in Ontario that has docks in, and you will not see a railing on it. Because you need access for boats or for airplanes land and the wind can't get over that railing, it's there. That's why we have a trip rail in, and that trip rail also doubles as a place for boats to tie up to.
Okay, can we get confirmation from Mark Schreiber, please? Because obviously you guys are getting one answer and Jack got a different answer. So I'd like to know the answer. Thank you.
Can we
But,
go on with anything else while we're waiting on the confirmation?
Right there.
oh, Mark Schreiber is standing in the doorway.
What's his name?
Look at it. Look at
The dock
that.
itself doesn't need a rail. But if there's any type of ramp or anything like that going up to this dock,
Over water or on land?
like there has to be some way people are gonna get onto this dock. From what I've seen from the drawings, it's gonna be fairly high. So there has to be access up to it. Now, if there's any ramp or anything going up to this dock, requires a railing there.
So
Okay,
Mark, if the ground was flush all the way going up to the dock and then you wouldn't need one. So if it's flush pretty much from the creamery side to the actual boardwalk itself, it wouldn't require a dock or a railing.
No,
Okay.
but if there's any type of ramp constructed,
Yeah.
Okay, and John, you just said that there are gonna be 3 of them?
This is a walking path on grass. And there will be 3 areas that walking path will have paving stones on it, so people will wear, that will lead to the dock.
Mark, I think this is your call, what you're hearing.
It's flush all the way across. Like the ramp is just,
But what if somebody wheeled up and wheeled right off? I'm just saying, I'm just-
How about if we go with whatever the building inspector suggests or recommends? We're fine with that. We have to abide by the law, and if Mark says this is the law, we'll follow that.
and it's gonna be governed by elevation.
On the height, yeah. If it's 6 inches, I don't think it matters. If it's 3 feet, clearly we need a rail.
Is it the
To clarify,
elevation?
Mark, at the deep end of the dock in the deep water, there's no building code requirement for a railing. We do have a trip rail there. So if a wheelchair or a small child on a bicycle, let's say, cannot enter the water, they'll hit the trip rail.
And then
Okay,
fall.
so-
Go over.
Because you can't, docks are designed that way.
That becomes a provincial matter, Murph.
Well, it sounds like this is also part of the Accessibility Act.
It is.
Yeah, if it's open to the public, it has to be accessible.
Okay,
For wheelchair
So-
accessible.
of course. Okay. Thank you, Mark. Clear as mud.
There is one.
Well, because we're talking about 2 different acts, right? We're talking about an Accessibility Act and a building code. So they're always going to be, we know that ministries sometimes work in silos and don't speak to each other, and that's how things get a bit bungled. But I mean, I don't see how a railing is going to take away from this project at all. In fact, I think it would be very pretty.
Well, it's not included at this point in the plan, so. Right.
That's right.
So let's get back to the I-beam that you have in here. On your secondary ones, what is that represent? What's that on top of the secondary? Is that like a 2x10 or what is that?
That is showing the
for-
definition of 2 pieces of angled steel that are actually welded right directly to the open web joist now, and they come down and weld to the I-beam.
So that's that square is representing two pieces of angle steel
That's right.
on top of it. And it goes up, and then what, you're gonna be bolted to the bottom of the dock, is that?
No, it's all welded.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at right here, this piece here, what this is,
Okay, I got it.
what that is. So these are angle brackets that come up off the I-beam.
No, they're actually welded. They're installed right on the open web joist now, and they come down, and that angle bracket then welds to the top of the I-beam.
I don't understand the drawing.
Well,
I'm
go
sorry.
look.
Like,
I don't
you're talking this here, right? This is what I'm talking about. What are these two? They're angle brackets?
That's right. You're looking at it from the side.
Yeah, so they're only narrow or long, or they're not very long? They don't go to full length, or what do
No.
they?
They're about, what, called 4 inches?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to go with that.
And they're right on, they're welded, already installed on the end of the open web joist, and this is standard how open web joists are installed using these brackets.
And then you're gonna weld it to the top of the I-beam.
Yep.
And then on the other one, this is just single? Is that what? Just a different drawing, just the
Right.
same.
Because it comes up, it has to come in at the apex of the bracing on the open web joist. This is the secondary one.
Yeah, so it's the same welding and setup on this side is the same as that,
Yeah.
even though it's drawn different, okay.
Can I ask something? Now that I'm sort of getting the hang of this. Don, you said that you guys were going to put in the galvanized cords, and they said you don't need them all the way along, but what is the, because
You
these.
don't need them all the way along on the vertical plane, but we need them all the way along on the horizontal plane.
That makes far more sense. Thank you. Now I get it.
Going across.
That's exactly what I was telling you. There's a bridge in Boston,
Yeah.
and this is exactly, it's so that the ice comes in and it doesn't take out the bridge.
So how far is the ice gonna be below those trusses?
Approximately 6 inches.
6 inches.
Below.
It can't be inside.
No, I
So
guess
that's-
not.
No.
In your email, Brent, you said something about a crib as well. What was that?
No, that was pertaining to the fishing dock,
Oh.
that there's no additional material on it, it's a wooden ramp.
Okay. Do we have plans for that?
Yep.
We didn't get them.
We didn't get them, so.
So it's page 2 of the.
we didn't
No,
get them.
we have two identical
Yeah,
pages.
that must have been a
We didn't get them.
photocopy issue. The
Yeah, they're
second one
both,
is the fishing dock.
A1s.
We didn't
Well,
get
you
in.
have both of ones? Can I just see?
Yeah,
We don't have the other ones.
No. And, you know,
Yeah, they're both the
These are-
same. So we have a copy here. We can circulate
Yeah,
it right
the-
now if you wish.
well, when we get onto that, yes, I'd love to see it.
Do we have somebody to make those copies?
I'm sure we do. We have the technology.
How many do you need, about 8?
Sure. Okay, so where were we? Sorry about that.
Well, it's addressing the concerns, but what we need now is we actually need a site elevation and all that has to be in, so.
Yeah, do you have a site
Site
plan?
elevation is not on these plans because it wasn't required, but site elevation, we have in separate drawings that will be added to the addendum at the end of the project.
Can we get a site?
No. You look at these things at the beginning of the project, not at the end of the project. No.
No, we have these now.
Well, then why can't we have?
Just excuse me, guys. There, because of what's been transpired lately, there was a consensus that went around by council that our road super will be managing this project. And that does not mean that we're gonna get stuff at the end. Bill has to be able to have the information or his designate, so we see what's going on. You can't be doing it after fact.
Jason's looking concerned over there.
Well,
Or his
you-
designate.
You need information.
Madam Mayor, I did contact the supervisor, his name is Bill? Yeah, I did contact Bill. He was off last week and this week we're to meet.
He's right there.
Okay. So yeah, we spoke on the phone. You were off. You said you were taking the rest of the week off. So it's just a matter of time before we reconnect. We did meet with the Ministry of Natural Resources We did provide my own drawing, and I have a hard time drawing a stick man, but this is what's been sent to the Ministry of Natural Resources. Brent was there, we discussed it, and they had no issues with my little drawing and the explanation that was provided on the site. So it's just a matter of reviewing this with Bill, make sure that we're all on the same page, make sure we're good, and
So-
go forward.
Can I back up?
Go ahead.
Can I back
Go
up
ahead.
a little bit? Can somebody remind me what meeting it was when we discussed that Bill would be part of this and with the consensus?
Ooh,
How
Bill
long ago?
wasn't here.
No, but.
No, but
we
the
discussed it.
council discussed it and we
Yeah.
decided to prevent any further
It was,
Yeah, when the,
questions that Bill would be present through the rest of this project.
it was,
Did we not? I'm sure we did. Jack? So what happened last week then?
well, no, I've been meeting with them and MNRF. and it's
No.
my understanding that the
Did Bill meet
construction-
with
when the
MNRF?
construction
So then why did this go ahead? We, as a council, said Bill was to be involved in
When
any
the
future.
when the
Any
construction
future
to
development.
oversight, to oversee.
So
That's what my
but the thing is,
understanding
with the MNR being involved, do you not think Bill should have been present?
He said construction
I-
is the.
To my
I think they're
under,
two different things.
my,
But I
my,
would like, I agree with Merv.
He's got to be
I'd like to see a
included
site
in the
plan.
whole
I'd
operation.
like to see a
We
site
can't
plan.
just give him
I'm sure he
partial
would.
information because you're
No,
going to end up
Tim,
with the problem here.
he gets it, he's gonna have the same information that we have. The group's gonna be meeting with him, meeting
So
with
so
him
it's
and
going to be
overseeing the
secondhand
Hang on,
project.
information.
hang on.
Excuse me.
We don't interrupt at this table.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was
No,
saying,
go
I said,
ahead.
we've said from the beginning that we've all agreed in the group that Bill is gonna help oversee this project. I said, when the construction starts, so that's what I'm saying, it's like that, we're putting the best thing forward, Bill's gonna be representing the municipality. I said, I don't see where the gray area here is.
The great
Well, it
area,
doesn't-
why haven't we seen what the elevations are? They're not top secret.
Do you have those in plans?
We have those
Not
in
just
drawings,
quotes?
in drawings and the measurements, and we were gonna sit down with Bill and make sure he was in agreement with those, but he was away last week. And then that's again added to the drawings. Now, one of the things we had to do is we had to survey just exactly the different water depths that happened between last fall, winter, and flooding zone right now. And once we had that, they gave us those reference points.
And I think going
Okay.
back, I think any renovation, any changes to the plans that are made should be passed by council, not given a handful at the end, which we revise this, revise that,
Well,
revise something else.
it's confirmed through the engineer, unless we all have an engineer
Yeah, but
stamp. then
you
there's
just
no-
said there may be some
Because-
revisions to this. We may do something else.
No, but
Brent,
it's based on.
Merv's talking.
It was said here that we'll show you the revisions at the end. Isn't that correct?
I agree with that.
I want to see them before they happen, not at the end.
Absolutely, things have to be done prior to.
You mean amendments?
Amendments, the revision, engineering.
Just so we're
revisions or
using the
amendments.
same vernacular, so we're all on the same page.
And we need to see the site plan evaluated, drawn not on a napkin, not on a sheet. We have to see what
I
it is.
think Bill would like to have
So,
a stop.
so what I would say is if we're putting, Bill is gonna be overseeing the project with the group, then would it not make sense to say going to 5 hedges to go to 1? And then he can stay in contact with us. By the end of the day, it goes through the engineer. If Bill's good with it and we're putting our faith in him as well with the group, and I've already said I'll give a helping hand in any way we can. And like, that's the thing. I think that makes perfect sense. There's no reason to micromanage from the council perspective on the Boardwalk project. Specifically, we can stay up to date.
Exactly, that's why we decided to have Bill do this over a month ago.
When the construction starts, and that's what we said from the beginning.
Yeah,
So,
but
If I
before
may.
we even do this, there is an issue that we've had because of this group that so-called did the thing. They stepped outside of the work permit. We know that. We did not know that when we signed off on this engineering drawings. The material they put in there, based on the invoices, it is outside of the work permit.
The material we put in there is exactly what the work permit says, and we had that confirmed by MNRF, and Brent was in.
It is not. 6-inch minus Don is not is not on the work permit anywhere.
What's
Tell
it
me
say?
where it is.
What's it say?
On the work permit?
Yeah.
3-inch and 5-inch. Where is 6-inch minus on the work permit?
When we met with MNRF, and you were there, Brent, she brought this up.
What,
And we met when they said,
Just wait, outside hearsay, no, this is why I said we needed a month ago or 2 months ago that we would have our representative, we would have Bill on site I'm not going into this he said, she said stuff.
But this
Well, Brent was at the meeting. Are you not going to trust what your own counselor heard?
We were told by our counselor that you were off this board. You took yourself off the board. You
No,
came and gave us
my-
directive.
no, that-
Okay,
that-
everybody
my-
simmer
whoa,
down.
whoa,
Jack,
Did you take yourself
Okay,
off?
that
there?
is,
Okay.
that is,
No.
Guys,
Okay.
I will take over this meeting if I have to, because I'm not gonna have this.
That might be
We
better.
don't interrupt people at this table. We use our hands, and I'm getting really frustrated here. What Brent said was not that Gerald was not on this project,
Thank you.
or that he wasn't on the president. He had just taken a step back from the project and Claude was working on it. The idea was when we met, and I'm going to say it was our April meeting, then you took it to the group on your May 3rd meeting, was that Bill Kennedy or his designate was going to work with Claude on this boardwalk project. That is what was said, period, full stop.
Yes.
So I feel as long as Bill is comfortable with this scenario, I want actually to bring Bill to the table to ask what he would feel comfortable with. Have you looked at these engineered drawings? Have you looked at the rocks that were deposited? Have you seen a site plan except for Claude's stickman drawing?
We haven't even seen that. We just made a phone call and back
Okay.
and forth, and we yet to schedule a meeting.
Then might I suggest something before we go off the rails here? No pun intended. Can we move on from this boardwalk project? Because I think realistically, the executive needs to meet with Bill Kennedy and Jason. I think that's probably the most important step going forward. And I would say that if Councillor Rosner has any more questions, perhaps we forward them and they can go to the engineer. I know that you got some of your answers today, but if you have any further answers, because I really think that we should move on to this fishing dock, which I know can get started like as ASAP if everybody's comfortable with it.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
we're very happy if Bill would represent the township on this. We know that Bill has been a part of this township team for many years, and he will only do things that are in the interest and the betterment of the community.
dead on.
He's more, one of the reasons I removed myself from these discussions in a sense was that these fellows have put their heart and soul into the boardwalk project. They have dealt with the engineers, they have dealt with umpteen people. For me to answer questions that you throw at me would not be fair because I wouldn't be able to give you the answers that they can give you. I can give you the answers on Fairfield, Centennial Park, and several other projects in the community that I've been involved in. But these guys are the ones who are behind the boardwalk and fishing dock project. They are the experts locally.
Absolutely, and that's why I suggested it a month and a half ago or whenever it was, because it will eliminate the muddy waters, guys. It just gives us that
It also
sense
doesn't,
of security from our point too, after seeing of what has happened.
it also
We-
doesn't
we
hurt
have-
that Bill's a carpenter.
Well, that
We have an
being said, you know,
opportunity
for sure.
to add to this community in
Mhm.
in a nice way, and that's all we're trying to do. We do not wish to engage in any controversy. That's not our mandate. But we're not going to fight a battle every time we want to undertake a beautification or a betterment project.
The-
That's not part of what we're existing for, I'm sorry.
The thing is, guys, this is a little different situation because of what can happen if potentially something goes wrong and if things aren't done the way they have to be done.
And I
And that
will,
is why,
I will actually add to that. The five of us and Brian are a little gun shy about liability right now, just after what transpired a few weeks ago. And I am so sorry that you guys thought that Tim was saying that it was your
no,
group.
there's
It
nothing to
had
do with your
nothing to
group.
do with you.
Absolutely nothing
It
to do
did
with
not
your
even
group.
happen on our township property.
No,
But I think we're just feeling a little skittish.
Okay.
And I hope that you recognize this is not us being negative or anything else. I'm actually glad that we're doing this with the drawings in front of us. I got the drawings by email. I didn't understand them. So now I've got a bit of a better understanding of how this thing is going to work. I have a lot more, I'm a little calmer now because not knowing how to read these sort of made me frustrated. So I'm happy that we're asking the questions And quite frankly, I don't think they're the hard questions. I think they're questions that should be asked.
I want to clarify something, and Tim, you made a comment not too long ago, but you just want it done right.
That's right.
Okay?
Yep.
And I don't understand why you think that we wouldn't want it done right. Why we've gone to all the engineers, Claude and I went to Huntsville, and we went and saw the docks there, we talked to the engineers there.
Because, Don, I've seen that there was stuff done outside of a work permit.
Why?
Well, if it was,
No, please finish.
Please finish.
if there was improper steps taken, as far as it goes with 6-inch minus, like Jack said, when you recommended, or when the MNRF specifically said 3 to 5, 6-inch minus, Don, how small does 6-inch minus go down to, Don?
6-inch minus the material we put in.
Yes. What's the 6-inch minus? What the 6-inch minus go down to?
6-inch and lower. I'm not sure what the lowest
Down
part
to
is.
dust. So that means that it's below the 3-inch standard.
Okay, just hang on a sec. When we ordered this product,
Yes.
and we actually, and Brent was with MNRF the other day, and we put everything together on that, and they said that we did what they had expectations to do. The issue about the size of the rocks is something that was brought up by Jack, okay? That is irrelevant to this because it was based on that the ice would attach to the rocks and pull them offshore. Okay, so when we look, and it's about compaction and it's about slope. And we followed that. We talked to the people that produced this stuff. We talked to the people that installed this stuff. So we have that and put it there, and MNRF agreed with us when we were in last meeting.
How do you explain when the permit called for washed rock?
The clean rock.
I just want to clarify that it was never washed rocks, ever. I have a copy of the permit here. I'll gladly circulate. It said clean material. Jack, do you see that?
But Don says Don actually states on it that it'll be washed rock and signs it.
To clean or washed.
And where's the permit to put the rock in at the fishing dock? Where is that permit?
There's no permit required.
Yeah, really? We'll call Mary right now. You cannot put rock in. I'll guarantee you, she probably said, if you want to put rock in at the fishing dock, you need a permit to put
That's
any
fine,
stone
Jack,
in.
'cause Mary was there with us this week, and
Did she give you permission to put rock in? What was the question she asked? Why are you putting the dock in and not adding stone? Why?
She never talked about adding stone to it. It's sitting on their exact conversation of the Friday meeting was that there's 6 screw piles in it. The square footage doesn't require a permit, and that we wouldn't require a permit if no rocks are added in because we're doing a wooden ramp going to shore.
That's right. If
Okay.
no rocks were added in.
And that's why I clarified.
Sorry, that's what your
And that's
email
what I
was.
said. I said there's no additional anything you add in. And we're also talking about stuff from back in November. And I'd rather focus on.
No, no,
It's coming up to July 6th is when you have access into the water. And that's what I'm trying to get past is rather than being problem just finders, we should be solution builders. Because you know what? This town's not going to grow. If we want to keep having lower property tax, we have to think of good ways to bring in more people into this township. And that's the thing. If we want to have 0.8% growth in this township, want to have, say, 100 more homes, you have to do projects like these. And you know what? I'm fine with us asking good questions. But you know what? I think for moving forward with projects, I think a lot of this stuff could have been dealt otherwise. That's why I invited every single counselor here over this past weekend, and I would be happy to go over the grading and stuff that Bill would then be taking over. So we talked about this.
No, just hang on here. Just hang on here. I get to address his comment that he said they never went outside the work permit. You just indirectly confirmed what I said, that if you're going to put rock in, you need a permit.
Jack, I wasn't here back in November.
No, but you
I
just
don't
said
know.
about the Friday meeting.
It is the past, and they found a solution for the fishing dock, right? That they don't have to put rocks in. That's what Brent, I didn't understand Brent's email when I read it at first, but now I do. So we don't need to put rocks in. I would like to see that project. Tim wanted to see that project go ahead sooner rather than later. So now we have the engineered drawings of the fishing dock.
We haven't really looked at.
No, which we have to look at. I was going to say, do you want to take a 5-minute break and look at them? But I was also going to say the move forward with the tourist dock or boardwalk, I think we need that meeting between you guys, Bill, and perhaps Jason. Before we need, I think we need a site plan and we need Bill to be on board with this project if he's going to be our boots on the ground for the municipality.
Yeah, but I still have, if Don basically said, I don't care if it happened in November or October, whenever they put the stone in, they had no permission to put that rock in at the fishing dock, none whatsoever. And anytime you put any rock in, you can talk to any MNRF, you need a permit. Now you're saying you don't need a permit to put rock in? Is that
You don't need a
true?
permit to put the fishing dock in, and that
No.
was confirmed. Hang on a second, okay? Any rock that you saw in the water there came from within the river when they took the screw piles and put them down and dislodged rocks, okay? The rocks that were there from below the dam, 3 truckloads of rocks were put in and down below. So Jack, when you went and removed the rocks from down there, where was your permit?
I was told to restore the river back. There were
By who?
4 loads of
By
rock,
who?
4 loads of rock.
It was 3.
4 loads of rock were taken. I know what was taken away. Paul Kilby's right here. He knows they come from behind the dam. There was 4 loads of rock, 2 loads of rock were dumped in, 2 were on shore. Mr. Tracy basically accused me of stealing 2 loads of rock on shore because I had no right.
There's no access. I accuse you of stealing rocks.
Well, it's put in the paper, the rocks disappeared.
I haven't written a thing about this.
The presentation you give to council, did you not say, Mr. Rosner took these rocks and 2 loads disappeared?
Okay.
Did you not?
Maybe.
Can
I'll have to
Yes.
come back to that.
Well, no, that's true.
But I mean, so what if I did?
So what
Did
if you
you?
did? So, but I'm just saying,
Did
you guys gotta admit that you went outside the permit,
Did
because you
you
did.
go
We
outside the
did not
permit?
deposit rocks into the water, Jack. There's no access there. We put them in the ditch. Okay, we did not put rocks in the water. There's a steep embankment there, and that's where the rocks were deposited. How are we gonna get a truck into the water?
There was 2 loads.
It didn't
put in.
happen.
Yeah, okay. It did happen.
Yes,
So
William,
anyway, back
Will- hang on, William's got some.
Go ahead.
Did Councillor Rosner have a permit when he went in and played around at the fishing dock from MNR?
We were told from MNR, had an emergency permit to protect the deck.
No,
So are you
Yes,
talking
we
now?
did.
no. You had an emergency
Oh,
permit to
boy.
do work on the north
This
side
is
of the
going
river.
so
Okay.
far
Yeah.
afield. This is not what this meeting is
No,
supposed to be.
so,
This meeting is about these plans and moving forward and how we're going to move forward. So I'm sorry, guys. I would like to take a 5-minute break. I want everybody to look at the fishing dock. And I think that we need to move into the fishing dock because today we're not approving the boardwalk until Bill Kennedy is completely satisfied that it can be built for the township purposes with these plans. Yes, William.
Is Councillor Rosner here with 2 hats?
No, he is a
No.
counselor.
So he's not here as
He's actually the
manager,
chairperson of this committee.
but he's not here then when he's manager of the.
No, he is not.
no, no.
Okay.
No, and I will say that he has been very good at making sure that if there's something that's going on about EGC, he has in fact left the room. So I believe we have a signed recusal from you, leaving the room for discussion that we have. We just took code of conduct training, so we're pretty fresh now.
Madam Mayor, I'm very confused because initially it was our rocks, the irregular shaped rocks that Councillor Rosner had a problem with, which led to the emergency permit to install more rocks there. And we put in about 200 tons of rocks at the boardwalk. Councillor Rosner in the emergency permit put about 120 tons of rocks there on top of ours. And now it seems that it's the new rocks that are the problem. Then we read that it's the silt that's the problem. Now we're getting word that it's the rocks that were put at the fishing dock. So I'm not sure
No,
where all
no,
this is
hang
Nobody
on.
said
It's
that.
just
No,
one thing
hang
after
on.
another.
Whoa,
It's no-
whoa, whoa.
Let
I'm
me
doing this
explain-
one.
Let me explain. this.
No, I'm doing this one. Nobody said, not one person at this table said that those rocks came from the fishing dock. Not one person at this table said that the rocks that were over the rocks, we don't know where the problem stemmed from with those rocks. We do know that something bad is going on at EGC. We will have to obviously, as the operator, the director of EGC will have to get in there and figure it out. But please don't put words, and we're having one meeting. please don't put words in our mouths because we didn't say that.
Madam Mayor, with all due respect, I was here when there was an irregular gray rock that was brought in by Councillor Rosner and placed on the table. That was the first problem that came about, problem rocks. We were all here. We all remember the gray rock that Councillor Rosner said went and picked that we put there. That's clear. Are we okay with that? The second thing was, in the paper, shows up with a round stone. It's right here. Here's Councillor Rosner with the round stone that he found lodged in the grate. We did not, it's right here, Madam Mayor. It's right here. So the point that I'd like to make is we did not put those rocks there. This rock here was not put us by our group. That was the emergency permit.
We never
That's
said
the
it
point
was.
of it.
We never said it was your
But
group.
that was to show was that the rocks
To
do migrate to the power, to the dam. That's all that was about.
It was not your rocks. We
No.
never
There's
said it was your rocks.
accusations right in the headline, Councillor.
No accusations.
Please read it.
There's no accusations. There's no accusations.
Nobody said that that big rock came from the shore.
Well, I think we should read the article. Perhaps in our 5-minute recess, I'll gladly circulate it and let's read it again.
Maybe with our 5-minute recess, Mr. Chartrand can look over the permit because it says not clean rock. This distinctly says on the permit, rock will be washed,
Washed.
will be put in fill areas so that no sediment is disturbed.
Okay, that's from the application. The permit does not say
Well,
that.
it's all in the file with the permit.
It's the application. Now, if we go to that, the application from the emergency permit said that riprap would be used. That's what it says right on the application from the emergency permit, and that's not the material that Jack put in.
Just for clarification.
Clarification, I did not put the material in. The material was put in by Mr. Kilby. I did not put the material in.
We both saw you there.
But for clarification,
I was there,
but for
right.
clarification, we're also talking about stuff back in November and we're sworn in December 4th, correct? So we're
Yeah.
talking about issues 8 months ago. Is that what we're focusing on rather than how can we actually move this project forward? So we already said that Bill Kenny's going to meet with the group. They're going to figure out the game plan. What's the best interest of this township to avoid
I
liability?
want to move on to the fishing.
We've already said that. So why don't we take the 5-minute break as you suggested probably 10 minutes ago?
Okay, so we're gonna recess for 5 minutes. Can I just so everyone in the room is aware, Hootie is going to go silent. And then when we come back into session, for anybody watching at home, it will be part deux. Apparently we can't pause and go on. It shuts down and then it comes back up when we're ready.
I can add one thing because Tim, you just said about that rocks migrate down to the dam. We have a PowerPoint presentation with experts and pictures that will show.
Okay. Again,
That's outside.
yeah, this is outside of the scope. We want to move on. We want.
Now back on.
Yeah. Did he come back on? You want a gavel?
I don't need a guy. Just bring that 16 pounds up and walk.
Okay. So I know, Claude, you have something to say, but before we move on, I just had a discussion with Bill Kennedy in the parking lot. He needs far more information. Obviously, this is all new to him. He said, if I was building a house, his exact words, I'd take 2 days to go over the plans. He would like an opportunity to review the plans, review a site plan, speak to MNRF, speak to you guys, and maybe have the engineer on the phone. That is where his comfort level is at.
Madam Mayor, I don't see the reasoning behind speaking to MNRF. We've entered with Councillor Patrick, and
I am just reiterating what our road superintendent said to me. I think that it's only fair if he is going to be a. Hey.
That right, he's going to be responsible.
Okay, so hang on. I need to finish this. Sandra. Bill needs a comfort level.
Yeah.
Period. So I would ask that you facilitate a meeting with him and maybe have the engineers on the phone to answer any questions that he has. But Bill needs to come back to this table and say, I am satisfied. And if we have any more questions, I would urge council to then email them to Bill Kennedy or to Claude in order that they can be asked of the engineer. Does that seem fair?
Yes. I'm agreeing.
I would
You were-
suggest
okay.
that rather than have the engineers on the phone, if there are any questions, then arrange to have the engineer. He's in Calgary on this one or what? So rather than having, you know what I'm saying? Let Bill look at them first. Maybe he won't have.
Oh, by all means.
Yeah.
No. He would like to see a full
Okay.
set of plans that he can go over. Sorry, I'll do this in steps. Please get Bill the plans. Every plan you have,
They're there.
all the work permits, blah, blah, blah. Give Bill all of that. Give him a couple of days to look over what he needs to look over and then facilitate a meeting, please. But by then, I would urge council, any questions for the engineer, please have them in writing to Claude and Bill, and then they can facilitate answers to those. Are we comfortable with that going forward?
That was our understanding right from the beginning.
So we have our liaison, which is Councillor Patrick. So should we get the councillors, if there's any questions directed to him, to me, and keep that line of communication going then?
Absolutely. I was just trying to cut out the middleman.
So I'll collect everything, put on one document,
Fine.
send it to the group, and I'll CC everyone on it.
I'm fine with that.
Confirm.
Everybody, Jack?
Yep.
Merv?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to get nods. Yes, William?
And hopefully then all this can get voted on finally at the next board meeting.
Council meeting.
That,
Council
Let-
meeting, yeah.
that would be the hope. That's why I'm saying
That's what
time
we-
is of the essence. We understand that you want to get into the river as soon as possible. Everybody here understands that. But that's why this meeting was extremely important to have now and not at the end of June, so that we do have time to have Bill comfortable as a co-project manager and our boots on the ground from the municipality. Good?
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get into the water then, because all of this has hampered our fundraising activities, so we can't go in if we don't have the money to pay for the costs, so everything has been at a standstill. People are all mixed up. They're not donating to something that's in the air, right? So
Okay.
hopefully we'll be able to get it back on track if we get the approval 2 weeks from today. If we don't get approval 2 weeks from today, we'll have to shut the project down and shelve it.
So Jen, pretty much if like Bill's comfortable moving forward with it, then we're putting our faith in.
Right.
Like
We'll
that's how
bring
I'm
Bill.
understanding.
Bill has to come back
Our
and just,
council meeting.
yes,
And whatever,
absolutely.
if Bill is comfortable, we'll proceed if we have the funds. If he's not comfortable, we
We
can't.
will.
We just
That's
halt
right.
the both projects, by the way, not just the boardwalk, but the fishing dock will be halted as well.
But I believe that Bill has enough
Yeah.
technical expertise as somebody that builds houses and garages, and
We're comfortable with that.
No,
he's the appropriate person.
And if he wants to bring in the building inspector for these, that doesn't bother, the more, the better.
I would like the question about the railing in
We're
writing.
not going there right now,
Okay.
Jennifer, we'll get into another one, but Claude had something there.
There's a letter I'd like to circulate to councillors. It's a letter that's of interest. It's regarding the accusations of our rocks, our sediment, our work on the shoreline causing damage to the turbines. So if I could pass it on to Madam Mayor. And further to that, there's a gentleman by the name of Mike Dupuy who has extensive experience in making and fixing power generation stations. He's approached us and he's repaired turbines for the last 30 years. He's offered to come to council to go to the generating station here at no cost and provide an opinion about what has taken place and how to fix it moving forward.
Okay,
He's offered to do that at no cost.
Thank you for that.
And he installed those turbines, by the way.
Okay, that's
Different
wonderful. That will be up to the shareholders of EGC.
Yeah.
That will be a direction not from council, but from us wearing different hats. So it was asked earlier, what is Councillor Rosner sitting here as? He is sitting here as a councillor. We are a committee this afternoon. We are not EGC. So thank you for the information. We will take it under advisement. We are going to have an emergency EGC meeting anyway, so in the next few weeks, so.
So we're accepting the letter? The
Oh.
presented letter?
Haven't read it. I'm not-
We haven't read it.
That's for another time.
We haven't read it, so.
But are you accepting receipt of the letter and will read it, or?
Yes,
Should
we
I just
will,
collect them
no,
again?
no, we will accept receipt and we will put this on our,
Agenda.
I would say it is, this is from Frank. Frank, would you accept a friendly amendment that this goes to the shareholders of the Eganville Generation Corporation?
Yes.
Thank you. So is that noted in the minutes, please? That this letter will now go to the shareholders. It says board members.
Thank you.
We are not the board at this time. Thank you. All right.
Okay, moving on. Now, since this is put on the item that we have, number 1, outstanding invoices.
I will speak to that if you have a question. What's the question?
Are you guys going to pay for the outstanding invoices?
Well, Jack, here is our reply. We have discussed this and we stand firm in our decision not to pay any of the cost. And that's the end of discussion as far as we are concerned.
I'd like to add one thing to that. Brent sent me the list, and there's one invoice in there that was not related to this, and that was to RGT Kluche, and we are taking responsibility for that one.
Okay, that was one of my questions.
Yeah.
Because one of them had nothing to do,
Exactly, the dates were different.
Yeah. okay?
So it's your opinion that you guys were well within your permit, so you have no reason to pay for these invoices. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
It's our decision not to pay anything towards that remediation, which we had no say in. We did have suggestions, and some of those suggestions sounded fairly reasonable, but they were not considered.
That you're talking about the November 6th meeting?
I'm just saying that we are not paying any of
No,
the
but
invoices.
you're confirming that you guys were here on the November 6th meeting.
Were we? I don't know. I don't have a calendar, Jack. If we were here.
That
we
was the
were here.
meeting that was called by the mayor.
Yeah.
right?
That's the one where the gray irregular rock showed up.
No, that was prior.
I think it was, we sat, I think there was a special meeting, was it not?
Yeah.
I don't know.
November 6th.
Yeah, I called a special meeting.
You go.
Anyway, so what?
I differ in opinions. My opinion says that, as far as I'm concerned, with the rock you placed in, there was trying to circumvent the permit as issued by the Minister of Natural Resources. And just in case Mr. Bishop here is wondering about the washed stone, May 28th, 2017, signed by him, or 2018, signed by him. It wasn't an emergency thing. These things was an attempt to circumvent the permit, and there's no way that the taxpayers are going to pay for
It
this.
certainly was not an attempt to circumvent the permit.
But why wasn't the
okay?
proper rock used, put in the proper way?
The rock was put in the proper way.
Proper rock,
Okay.
not the 6 minus, proper rock though.
Okay, we could have MNRF come here and then they
I
can
don't-
tell you what, was up. And now if you look on the permit, that's the application. The permit did not say that.
Well,
What was
how
on the
come
permit?
your signatures are on here?
That's the application.
What does it say in
What
the
does the
permit?
permit say then?
What does it say in the
What do you
permit?
Okay, hang on.
We're not hiding anything.
Where's the permit?
Whoa, hang on.
Brent has a copy of the permit.
I'm getting
Oh, I
a
shared the
lot of,
permits with everyone.
Yeah.
I'm
you guys
getting a
have
lot
done
of text that we're actually better than Hannity,
Yeah.
which is not sitting well with me because everyone knows how I feel about Hannity. Claude apparently has the permit on him. Can we see the permit, Claude, please?
Is that the one that Brent,
Yeah, it's the
that's
exact
the one that Brent
I-
emailed to us?
No, that's the
So-
application you're pointing to, but the
That's
actual
what-
M&RF permit's in there as well.
That's the invoice.
They gave
There we
everyone.
go again.
What do you mean?
Do we have printed?
Well, I
Can we
thought
have
we
those
had the
invoices
permit.
printed off, please?
Why do we have a signed document?
Is there a way we can get those invoices
Here's the
printed off?
invoices. Here's the invoices.
Oh, it's okay. We got them.
This is an invoice, okay, so the Kluche construction invoice is not to be included with this?
No.
So you guys are gonna pay that?
Can you look at the date?
Okay.
Just for clarification, the date on that one? Just look at the date, the invoice date or delivery date. September 27th.
Invoice date is December 21st, 18. There, so you guys are looking after Kluche.
That's not that Kluge, so.
All right. so
Well,
Kluche.
Kluche Construction, HRGC Kluche, sorry.
Text the politician.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
Apologize for my-
Don't drag heck
RG2.
into this.
We're all
We have to borrow money from them, but
I thought I saw a delivery date.
Okay, so that's.
It's your area,
we'll take
let's
it.
just-
We're-
we're taking
So that one's going in.
Yeah.
So RJ Zell and Son Sand and Gravel on the date of November 14th
Not ours.
for rental floating charge. So whose is this?
Whoever ordered it, we didn't order anything.
What was it done for?
That's for the emergency permit.
And why did we need an emergency permit?
To
Councilor
fix,
Ross
To fix,
brought up
to fix what was done?
yes,
So this is not the responsibility of the rest of the ratepayers of Bonnechere Valley to be looking after this. I'm sorry. Thomas Kavanaugh. It's not funny.
It's not funny.
It is.
It's not funny, guys.
Here's
Look at
another example.
look at
Why
what
don't
you're
the
laughing.
owners
I don't
of the
think it's
permit
very good to
on
come
an
in-
application?
Okay,
What are you trying to hide?
hey,
So
guys, just one at a time.
So anyway, Thomas Kavanaugh. Landscaping stone. Thorax surcharge.
what is landscaping stone?
That's the stone that Paul got.
It's supposed to be riprap.
Date 01/31/19.
What does that have to do with the emergency permit?
That's the stone that was put in on the emergency permit.
So
That's the
it wasn't
Oh, it
riprap,
was
it was
the-
round boulders
Yeah.
instead of like compactable.
It was the
That's
date of
why.
the invoice that's confusing.
Yeah.
So
But if we're looking at the application
So,
specifically.
There's a,
Uh,
just
Hey,
a,
oh
listen,
my God.
are we going,
Go.
are we going to be
Jack,
paid for
do
this?
something.
Enough, please.
Are we,
Tim, go ahead. You go ahead. You have
are we
the
going
floor.
to be paid for this? And who, without laughing, who is responsible for this bill?
Whoever ordered the product.
And why was the product ordered? To fix a problem. So I don't think that we're going to go ahead with anything further until these bills are paid.
Bills are
That's
paid.
fine,
Good.
that's okay,
That's
that's good.
perfect. Then the project is canned.
You can't. That's it.
And since we really have no trust in this council, we have no reason to believe that you're going to allow the closure of the bridge for Canada Day dinner. So that will be canceled. And the cheese box race, we have rumblings about that. There may not be enough water. So you're going to have a very quiet village this summer. That's what this council.
Well, if it means
chooses to do.
protecting the people in Dacre and in Augsburg and Ruby from costing them money, guys, I don't mind standing up for those people.
That's good.
That's
because
why
we're-
I'm here.
We're not costing the money, Tim. We
Well,
have-
then what
we
do you
have
call
brought
value
value
11,000?
Joe,
Who are you?
community.
Joe,
That's it.
Tim speaking, then you can speak.
The people of Bonnechere Valley are not going to be put on the hook for somebody else's mistake.
That's right. I agree with you.
So what do you think this is? Who's going to pay for this?
It's not our mistake.
Not our mistake.
Well,
Why
I
do you
beg to
think It's our
differ.
mistake. They followed the work permit.
No, they did
Why
not.
don't we have a copy of the permit?
Right, yeah.
Why does the owners not have, that's not what he
I,
said.
I sent everyone.
I think this meeting is over.
Of what was sent to you, I'm telling you that we
Put a motion
provided
to
a
suspend
copy, I don't know what was sent to you, I have a copy here, we can put that under
What
right
did you
now.
send us? Read the application or the?
But it has
It was all,
something.
it was all together.
So you have a comment? Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to specifically talk about the invoices. The invoices were raised by Councillor Rosner as a perceived problem of our rocks being put there. That's why the emergency permit was applied for. That's what incurred a cost. But we had no mechanism or no input in those bills. That's why we're completely opposed paying for the bills. We had no control. We had no say. We were not even on site. We had no control, yet we're expected to pay for it. And it's a perceived problem of one individual.
Okay,
What-
Listen, I brought in material that did not meet the work permit. That material was brought here. The decision was made to get the material covered up or removed. That's what was done. I just brought the material. Council of the day made the decision, and that's when the permit was implemented. So, and the reason why the material was brought in, that material that was brought in would go through the grates and could possibly cause damage. That's why that material was brought in. You guys went ahead, you did this project, you never once notified me about anything down there, nothing. There was no notification done. You guys just did, don't smile, Don. It's true.
It's hilarious.
Well, it is hilarious. The invoices,
We were never,
so, okay, the
we had no
invoices,
reason to inform
okay,
you.
I get the last word. We have to stop this meeting because we do have a committee meeting and we do have people in the gallery that are delegations.
Exactly.
So I get the last word.
Okay, so after me, you can be last?
No, Don,
Let him say what he wants to say.
No.
We're
Go ahead.
leaving. This is it. We're gone. So
Well-
just let him say it.
On this memory stick, this whole thing is based on the theory that the ice was gonna attach itself to rocks and go through the bridge and bring itself down to the turbine. Correct? Jack?
and it happens.
Excuse me?
It happens. Ice,
So,
the ice can be encapsulated, the rock, and the rock moves down. How do you think that rock got to the?
on
front
here
of the
are
grade?
pictures
Well, we have
of the
our own
river
theories on that.
Well-
melted this year, as well as comments from engineers that would disprove everything you've said.
How come we haven't seen it?
I'm just offering it now.
That's been around for a long time.
Okay.
Okay. Just like Mike Dupuy offered to come up and listen to the turbines, but no one wants to listen. to
Okay.
this.
That's it. How much are the invoices that are being refused to be paid for?
Over $11,000
Minus the Kuches.
or whatever, then, so whatever,
2,500 for the Kuches.
so it'll be 9, whatever it is, I guess. If we take this from and minus them off.
And that was under previous council, correct? I think that was.
It was previous council with this group, where we were trying to
Yeah.
find a solution to the problem. So I have 2 suggestions. And I think my husband is watching this podcast, so he's gonna be really ticked off. I can pick up the bill,
You're not
Or-
picking up the-
No,
or
You're not picking it up.
No,
previous council said that they would contribute to the boardwalk up to about $10,000.
Madam Mayor, we would have gladly picked up the bills had all of this nonsense
Okay,
not
but it's-
started, because our fundraising would have surpassed our goal. We know that. But because of what's been taking place the last 5 months, our fundraising is an absolute turmoil. People have no idea if the project is on or off or on or off. Like, it's become the laughing stock of the community.
Okay, and that's not what we want.
No.
And we don't want you to shut down dinner on the bridge, and we don't want you to
Well,
shut down the
I'm
cheese
sorry,
box
that's-
race.
it
We
all,
don't want that. We appreciate every single thing that your group does. Everything that you do enhances our community. Nobody is denying that. Nobody. I would implore you to go back as an executive and talk this out and see if we can come to some sort of agreement over these invoices.
we're not responsible for the invoices. We've got proof to show that there's no reason for it to go down. If you guys don't want to listen to the proof,
Don, that ship has sailed. It really has.
well, if it has, why are we being asked to pay for something that we had no input to?
Well, there was obviously some sort of problem down there.
Yep, there was.
And even I know enough that wash stones means they get washed. I just learned this. They're not hosed down at the site. So that's a problem. That's a challenge. That's outside of the work permit.
And then all the
That permit
landscaping
never
sewn
said
that in
not
was
enough.
washed.
Well, here's signed
An
it,
invoice
May
doesn't say,
23rd,
to be fair.
2017, Bishop, signed it.
Murph, you brought this up 4 times.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Okay.
yeah, but I'm
I-
doing
bring it
it.
up
this
6
meeting
more
has to.
times?
No, I'm not
So,
saying
that's
lies.
it.
It really does.
So it comes to
I
them.
thought I had the
Go
permit.
look at the permit, so it says.
Where is the permit?
So-
You were
Okay,
saying.
hang on.
Jen, could I just say one?
No, hang on. Claude, can you hand Merv the permit so he can look at it quickly, please?
I see.
Too much to read now.
Yeah.
Too much to read now. I'm gonna read it, but that's what you sent me.
It's exact same.
Exact same. That's what he said.
So Murph, just sit here and say you're being lied to and you're not being given a permit, perhaps that should be retracted then.
So,
Okay, if this is the permit, rock will be washed clean, will be placed in fill
But-
areas, so there's no sediment disturbance.
I
Don Bishop,
I just,
July 30, 18.
Murph,
If this is the permit, was it washed?
That's the application.
That's the application that goes, the
He
permit
just
is the
gave it to
first
me as
2
the permit.
pages.
Make up your mind, Don.
Read it.
Read
Read it.
You
Read it.
Okay, guys, guys, okay,
Make up your mind.
all right,
Stop
So-
playing games, guys.
all right, so this is the way it is, so it's, you guys can, like Jen gave you the directive, go back and think about what you want to do with the invoices. If you don't want to pay them,
No,
then,
no,
I'm not, hang on.
no, we have decided what we're doing with the invoices, Jack. We aren't
Okay.
doing anything because
Okay.
after tomorrow, we probably will not exist anymore. However, we will commit to finishing off McCray Lookout Park because that is a work in progress and you're not involved in that. You tried to be 2 years ago when we started it, but luckily you weren't on council then, so we managed to get that project on the rails.
And I think we can get this project on the rails.
Well, you got some work to do, Madam Mayor.
The money, if we came up with the money, it would have to come from our donations that we have done out to people to collect.
Okay, but what I'm saying
They
is,
are our shareholders, and it's not gonna go for mess that we have nothing to do with.
well, I know the previous council wanted to donate to we wanted to be a part of the Boardwalk project. And this is not the way I want to contribute. I was hoping that we would buy boards or contribute more to more benches through, and I know we've got our Main Street Revitalization Fund that we've committed to do certain things at the Boardwalk site. But I was hoping that we would honor, that this council would honor that, you know, being a part of a project that ultimately is going to be a municipal asset. And so I think that we as council have to take a hard look as well. My hope was that we were going to come to some sort of negotiation where perhaps we could split them. At some point, guys, we have to walk away from these arguments. The negativity is not helping anybody. Dawn, I get the last word. The negativity is not helping anybody. And honestly, if I was in the public and trying to donate, I think I'd be a bit upset as well. So that being said, I urge you not to disband this group. All 5 of us recognize the importance of it, and we want to get past this. We honestly do. And I think that we had a good, fulsome discussion and a plan forward with our road super or designate to get this done properly where we are comfortable, you guys are comfortable, and he's comfortable. So anyway, Jack, you can adjourn if you want.
Well, really, that's the way it is.
Just for
Adjourn.
clarification.
Well, can I get a motion for adjournment?
I'll put a motion forward.
Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Have a nice day.
So I can hear.
Oh,
Sure.
sure. Well, usually I speak loud enough for everybody.
No, but she's not being creepy.
No,
Yeah.
no
just
problem.
saying.
Okay,
Well, you're a little creepy, but not really.
okay, guys.
I hope you didn't notice the ball.
Okay, guys, let's get this thing back
Oh, no.
on track here. Tim,
Keep me in.
Murph? I'd like to call this meeting to order. Our regular committee meeting. It's 1:45. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Apparently, I just found out this morning through an email that June is Seniors Month, and they're looking for a resolution, so Bonnechere Valley declares June Seniors Month. I know, Brent, you sit on the seniors board, so perhaps we can send that off.
Fairfield's board.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
that's no problem.
And we did receive a concerning letter about a dog in town. Without naming names, I think we should just have a quick discussion about alternate phone numbers for people to reach out so that they don't have to phone the OPP.
Okay. Brent?
Nothing.
Murph? Tim, nothing? I would like to bring up, when I was arrived, I had a letter addressed to me. I've had Sandra make some copies of it, so I think we should talk about it concerning some issues that are going on in town. Okay? We'll discuss it. It's item number 6.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to accept the agendas as amended? Murph? For approval?
Yeah.
Yeah. All in favor? Okay. Any pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, I'll go ahead. Can I get approval of the minutes from the committee meeting? Brent, thank you. Delegations. Come on, bless us with your presence.
We're not
Yeah.
vicious as we're saying.
Come and bless us with your presence. We have Judy and Nicola, right? Is that
Yes.
correct? Nicolina?
Bless you.
Okay. Give us some good news, guys. What do you got for us?
So Well, the good news is we don't need any money whatsoever. We're hoping to.
And you're not building docks.
Yeah, we're not building docks.
Not asking for money is always the way to get us to smile,
Yeah.
because there is no money.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so we're just asking for approval to use the area of land right by the library to build a youth garden. And that's pretty much it. Everything is provided by boards, private donations, and donations direct to people.
That was actually under correspondence. Do you
Yes.
want us to wait
No,
until
we
then?
read it.
No,
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No, you're here
We've
now.
read it.
Nicolina's not used to having her
I'm
picture made in
sorry.
a leader.
Yeah,
Nicolina, you're live.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That thing in the middle, you're on YouTube right
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Famous.
Like, I love Candace goes like this. So I misunderstood. I thought you were here about the Souls cuts.
Right,
We
yes,
are.
yeah.
Oh, you are, okay,
Double duty.
Double duty.
okay, fine.
So you bring us the good news first.
Yes.
Fine. Okay.
I think it's a lovely idea.
Yeah, I am full in agreement with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely
Perfect.
beautiful idea. Brian, can we just give administrative direction, or do you want a resolution? No?
Administrative.
So, and
Fantastic, yeah.
the board and the librarian are here now, so they know that this is, it's just a lovely project.
It's great for the kids, great for the community, and the Horticultural Society has approved in principle, not the idea that they will support it. We didn't have funds identified, the level of funds at the time, so, but they will propose a resolution and pass that. So that there shouldn't be any funds needed other than that, and that'll cover the soil, any extra plants we need. There's a seed library at the library.
Oh, that's
So-
really nice.
And we've had, if we do need plants, we can buy them at Seeds of Creation, and she's going to donate a few plants as well. So there's lots of community involvement.
Well, let's hope for some nice weather to get some of those
Yeah,
plants
no
growing.
kidding.
You know, and they're calling for frost last night, the first week of June, that kind of scares a little bit of the.
I was
gardeners,
amazed on
so.
social media how many people covered their tomato plants.
We
Oh,
did.
Right, you did, okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think a community garden was tried at Legion Field at one point, and it was a very nice location, but I think this is a way better location, especially with your teen group, right? So that,
Yes.
and even with your little ones that come for homeschooling, I think it's a really nice outdoor project if we can ever get outside.
Yes.
Can I ask one favor? When the green peas are ripe, can you give me a call? I love them, eating them right out of the garden.
Send Jenna.
Be no raccoons at all gonna get near those, so.
Just check them when you're at the library.
In 10 trucks, they're as good as Palmer Rapids donuts.
That's right, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
We'll have to
No.
invite you all over
Yeah.
to see it once it's.
Oh,
Yes, we really
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
If the Horticultural Society is going to pass a resolution, maybe we should as well.
Yeah.
Sandra, do you mind?
Yeah.
Just a very simple resolution for tonight, just so that the Horticultural Society understands. Perfect, thank you.
very good.
Okay,
Okay.
now for the not so great.
Yeah.
Here's the bad news.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other reason that we're here is because of the Souls cuts, and just a little bit of background about that to explain exactly what it is we're talking about. The Southern Ontario Library Services is really a critical support for libraries. They do a lot of work for us. Things like providing online resources. We can go there for almost the answer to almost anything. They provide training for library staff and CEOs, the library boards. They provide templates for us of the policies that we need, and we can just go and customize them for our own community and our own library and all kinds of things like that. But the main thing that we need day to day is the interlibrary loan service. So that they had bad news like the municipalities did. The Southern Ontario Library Service was notified, as well as the northern version of that, towards late April, I guess, April 18th, that their budget was cut by 50%, both of those organizations. So they were immediately overwhelmed, but after about a week or so, they decided that the only choice they had was to cut the interlibrary loan service. There's been an awful lot of backlash. And what they've done in the last few weeks, I guess, is go over their budget, and they've managed to come up with other savings. They've cut training, things like that, that are also critical, but they recognize that the top priority has to be interlibrary loan service. So, and what that involves is, I mean, we had access to libraries across the province. And so regardless of whether it was a research text or a textbook that a student might need, or somebody doing research or ancestry research, anything like that, as well as, you know, just nonfiction and fiction titles, we had access basically to the whole province. And it was contrary to what we're reading in the news, it was a really efficient service. When those trucks rolled around the province delivering things and picking up things, it was a dedicated route. We had the dates, we knew exactly when to expect that. They were also providing pools of large print books, audiobooks, and DVDs at the same time. So the whole thing really worked in, like, it was really a well-organized, well-oiled machine. So that, of course, got cut. And in the last few days, Souls has notified libraries that they have managed to resurrect a version of this. And Nicolina will talk more about how that's going to work, what they're proposing, at least what we know at this point. But there are severe limitations, we think, and so one of the reasons we're here is because we would like to ask you to, after we've kind of convinced you, to perhaps write a letter to County Council and just let them know that you support our concerns. Other libraries are doing this as well, approaching their municipalities. And so we're hoping that as a big organization, the County Council can then take that forward. One of the reasons for that is I had a discussion with John Yakubuski after these cuts, and he said his feeling was, because we were trying to organize a meeting with him, and his feeling was it was more appropriate for municipalities to deal with this. He said, because you're the ones who fund libraries. If it is something that is affecting bottom line and costing us money, it really should come from the municipalities. And so he recommended that we follow this chain of command, and that it would be more appropriate for the County Council then to approach the provincial government. So we're doing that. He's kind of reconsidering. He didn't really want to meet with libraries, feeling it was more appropriate for municipalities. But I think he's reconsidering that, and it sounds like there may be a meeting of CEOs and chairs of the library boards. But that's still in the works. So in the meantime, we'd like to do this, and we thought the best way to do that is to come here, explain our concerns. Not that we're not appreciative that we have a working solution to this temporarily, but it has severe limitations. And so anyway, I'll turn the floor over to Nicolina, and she can explain what we know about it at this point.
Right, so the details that we have right now, essentially the solution to all of this was to allow the interlibrary loans to go through, to allow libraries to borrow and to lend through our regular database with less tech help provided for librarians, but we will not have the delivery service any longer. We have to go through Canada Post. There's a library shipping tool that allows us to receive a discount per item, which is great, but it means that as soon as you're lending out an item, you're incurring the cost. So we have to directly pay for it before we would, allow it to be dropped off and picked up through Souls. Now there is a rebate in place up to $340,000, but that's for all Ontario libraries participating in the Canada Post rebate option or shipping option. So then if Toronto, if Ottawa joins in, we have no idea how much we're going to be getting at this time, but we can, kind of get a sense of it being not too much, and it's going to be solely based on our individual library lending statistics. So there will be something, but it probably won't be significant, and they might be capping how many books we can actually distribute. Now the pool rotation that Judy mentioned, that's also completely done, and there's no funding for that provided whatsoever. And as she mentioned, it was extremely important for us to get those large print audiobook and DVDs through that pool because large print and audiobooks are extremely expensive. Our large print book is usually twice the cost of a regular print book. And also we have an extremely high demand for DVDs at the library. We can't even keep up cataloging for everyone and getting the items on the shelves in time because it's so popular. Other things have occurred. Multiple employees have been let go at Souls, so it's really a grim situation. 6 positions have been cut in total. So essentially over the past few years, in terms of Boothville specifically, our numbers have consistently been growing for how much need there is for interlibrary loans. So in 2016, we borrowed 559 books from other libraries and lent 114. And that's just, those are the low numbers. In 2017, 2018, we borrowed over 800 books, almost 900 in 2018, and lent out over 500. So it's continuously increasing and the community need is definitely there. But because of the Canada Post rebate decision, we have to now cap, no matter what, how many books we lend out and how many books we borrow. Obviously, because we don't know how much funding we're going to be getting, but also this process, as Judy mentioned, it's not efficient. It involves a ton of time-consuming tasks for our staff. So in the end, we're going to have to cap not just how many we lend out and pay for, but also how many we borrow. So it kind of goes both ways. So that means that our collection is going to be limited. This time, we don't have necessarily the space or budget to increase how much we're spending on our collection. So we're sort of at a disadvantage here. And yeah, pools, the one solution to that, one thing mentioned was a Purolator deal that some libraries are involved in. So we might be able to send out what we currently have in library. We currently have pool items that we don't know what to do with just yet. We might be able to send those out through Purolator, but again, we would have to cover those costs. And there might be some organization on Soul's part on how that rotation schedule is going to happen, but we don't have enough information as of yet. So that's essentially where we are right now.
I need to ask something.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair. Is there any indication of when you will know how much of a rebate you're getting?
As of now, there isn't anything. The most updated report that we got was actually delayed by about a month's time. They thought they would have more information a month ago. We received this update just last Friday about the rebate and the details of that. So hopefully within the next few weeks, but really there's no way of knowing just yet. But interlibrary loans, the database is open, and so libraries can start requesting books and sending out books if they so choose, or they can select not supply and completely cancel requests.
I mean, that would probably be prudent until you know.
Right, yes.
Which is so unfortunate. I'm just saying until you, because we know how lean your budget is. And there's no room for errors in this. And I would just say until you know. But I mean, this is the fluidity of this government, right? We know at county, we got a couple of funding notices of funding pools that have been shut down just Friday afternoon. So things are coming out sort of daily and weekly. So my hope would be that you would have an answer sooner rather than later. But I don't see any reason that we can't send a letter to the warden and county council.
Send a letter to yourself.
I hear she's a real pain. But certainly, I know that many of our communities in Renfrew County have libraries or share in libraries. So I have no doubt that this is something that will be important to county council. I would normally offer that this could also be a priority for the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. However, we are up to our necks in legislation, and we only choose 1 to 3 priorities a year. And right, yes, there's only so much that we can do when we're in front of the government or in front of the NDP caucus. But certainly this is something that I'd be happy to speak with my colleagues about to see if they would, just of their own volition, share across the 105 in the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus catchment area.
it's starting to affect things like book clubs too, that, just to get specific and give you an idea of the impact on the community. Book clubs normally rely on the library to order multiple copies of whatever selection it is that they're going to discuss, to give them all time to read. And
Right.
some of them will buy their own copies, but other people just simply can't. And so the library, that is one service that has been really meaningful for book clubs. And the other thing is the seniors, like we're a growing community of seniors. And so those large print books, as Nicolina said, they're incredibly popular. It's growing all the time. And I run across people all the time that say, I now use that large print collection at the library. And, it's just eye strain and everything like that. But our seniors outreach program depends on that. And unfortunately, those are people that aren't very mobile. So they really do a lot of reading, but they exhaust our own supply pretty quickly. So without those pools arriving of large print books on a regular basis and the ability to order interlibrary loans, they're kind of left in the dust.
Just, if I may, Mr. Chair, just out of curiosity, do we do books on wheels to Fairfield?
Yes.
You do?
We do, yes.
Nice.
Yeah, we do.
But that's another way that you're going to exhaust that supply, right?
Right.
Yes.
Because once you've read a book, you've read the book,
Yes.
unless it's Jane Eyre.
And they're,
Then we read it every year.
Go ahead, Mark.
and they're avid readers.
Yeah,
And sending them electronically doesn't work either.
right, yes.
The
Yeah,
tough-
there are too many issues with ebooks, so that has been one of the points that have been made. Well, why don't we just switch to ebooks or audiobooks and forget about having so many print items in the library? But the problem is the cost issue is first the biggest thing, because it's been happening over decades now, not just public libraries, but academic libraries, government libraries. Everyone has been negotiating with vendors to get a fair pricing. And it's been absolutely impossible. The cost of one ebook is sometimes up to 5 times more expensive than just one print item. And because it's so expensive, you can only purchase one. And so the wait list is huge. You get sometimes even hundreds waiting in line for this one electronic resource. So it's not a solution. It's something that can be offered in tandem, but that's pretty much it. So yeah, we're in desperate need of this service, and the solution hasn't been efficient, and we'll have to put it on hold for a little while until we get some kind of feedback. But we're hoping to offer it again, just with caps on it. So unfortunately, we can't continue to grow it, even though there isn't the need for it, as Julie discussed.
I like a book. I like a
Yes.
real book.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Something with a cover on it.
Yeah, I get the leader online, but I always buy one too, because I like a newspaper. I like a book. There again, Brent, showing my age.
Perfect.
I don't know.
Oh, it's a very common sentiment. Even people who have the option, who know how to use an iPad or whatever it may be, prefer having it, in their hands, smelling the book and
Yeah.
the whole experience.
And for some, understanding the technology is a problem. They're just, if they're older, they're just like a little bit hesitant, or very hesitant sometimes, to even approach that. But there's also the problem of the technical service to download
Yeah.
that, and I know that's a hot spot.
And then there's a thud on the floor when you fall asleep reading in bed.
That's right.
The book makes a better noise.
iPads don't drop very well.
No. That's right.
So basically, that's our ask, I guess, is, if the council would consider sending a letter.
Yeah, I think the general consensus of council is to, everybody here is behind that, and send a letter, and we'll send it on to our warden and see what she can do.
I'll let Jenna know. If not, I'm in trouble when I get home.
Yeah.
Our best support.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
She's our champion.
Right. Like,
This was one of the things that I was surprised, because they repealed some of the in-year cuts. I thought this might be one of them,
Mhm.
just to give you an opportunity over the next, say, 6 or 7 months to sort of figure out your budgets, figure out how to do this effectively.
Yes.
That's what they've done with us with some of our long-term care and that sort of thing. And so this was one of those that I was hoping, amongst all hopes, that, because I know that our board and traditionally our librarians you've been very efficient with money. And I think that you could have figured it out. It's just difficult when you're in the budget year.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Sure.
I should have brought my background.
So
Just gonna run.
grab Daryl. Is Daryl around?
Daryl's in, or to,
Meeting, yeah.
board meeting.
So are you taking him while they go on testing?
Oh, no, not yet. We're gonna put it on for July.
I know,
and
I mean,
December.
Judy knows it's much older, and I mean, if you look at my account, like, you know, I was probably like 20 or 30 of those books.
And, you know, it's very popular.
I
Hey,
mean,
Daryl.
I loved it because like you're talking to somebody, they're like, oh, you should read this.
How's
book. And I
Daryl?
look it up on the online, you guys don't have it, I'm like, and my little request, sometimes I send it like 5 minutes.
Back to work.
Yeah.
Back to work. Yeah, back to work, doing my other job.
And right now,
Where the diesel, where the rubber?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's good.
You want 5 minutes?
Mr. Birch, this report's a little longer than normal. What's going on?
this?
This report's a little longer than normal.
You see how I tightened you up, eh?
Yeah.
I know.
Like it's normally, what's
When
going on?
Sandra handed it out, I'm like, whoa, Daryl went above and beyond.
Gone. A little extra.
Okay, here we go.
Well, that seems like a reasonable price for the RV dumping station.
I think
Wow.
we'd be in agreement with that
That's-
as council.
Let's get that
Signage and everything.
That-
That, you know, that's, you
Let's
know,
get that done.
Good.
thank you very much,
Yeah.
Daryl. I appreciate that for sure.
So other than that, I don't have anything other than our
I
audit
know.
is, our audit is actually going to be in July. That's where it's done today. So.
Lots of time to make this.
Have you got a chance to look at the painting of those structures you were talking about or not yet? Those tanks?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
I'll wait till fall.
Fall?
Late
Okay.
fall.
Late
I
fall.
thought it was fall.
Okay,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, the weather feels like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
So everybody's good.
So can we say the last line here on live TV?
Sure you can. Go for it,
The
Tim.
cost of the
Maybe
RV?
you should let him do it.
Yes,
I'll do
Yes,
it.
go ahead, Daryl.
It's, no,
Yes,
it's
go
your
ahead.
win.
You just-
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
There.
You know you're live on YouTube.
Oh,
We
okay.
should be telling everybody that comes in that, eh? Just so that they know not to.
Anyhow, to my best estimate here, it's gonna cost between $1,000 and $1,200.
For the RV dumping station?
Yes.
Including,
Including,
Including the lid, because we have to take the lid off that's there, get a new lid made. I'm gonna get a little sign made mainly for the water, so that it's not drinkable water.
yeah,
Not potable
that's
water.
very important.
And we're gonna probably put a little concrete curb around it. I went and looked at refuse again, and it looks really good.
yeah,
And
so,
then we'll make a flush hookup coming out the wall.
Brilliant.
so when do you think that this will be ready to use, Daryl?
Well, I can have the lid by next week, so I would say 3 weeks.
so by long weekend in July?
Oh, yes,
Should be
sure.
ready to
Oh,
go.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what should we do then to get this out to the public's, or to the masses?
Put it in the newsletter? maybe?
Yes,
As
so
soon as.
Dana just asked us for information for the newsletter. When you're done here, I know your report's really long. Do you want to just go and have a chat with her to see if,
Okay.
just to make sure that the timing is right? Because I would hate for the newsletter to go out and not have it if it's going to be ready, but I also don't want to give false expectation.
So like if you figure you can do it by July 1st, just have that.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah, it gives you some
Oh.
lead time in there.
Hopefully, if winter ever ends, we can get the RVs out and use this.
So, and then the lid that the guy's making for me, it's gonna be lockable, so if we have any issues and we have to stop this, we'll just throw a lock on it.
Lock it down.
okay.
That's it.
And what I can do is when you know for sure, I can send a note to the the Lake Clear property owners and Golden Lake property owners, just to let them know that
It's available.
it's available to them, yeah.
Absolutely, for
Yeah.
sure. No, that's fantastic.
Is there
So
something with
just-
Constant Lake or not?
I don't know
Is
if
there-
they have I don't know if they have a property owners association,
To my understanding, not,
but
no.
we can
Reach out to
We
them.
can reach out, yeah. one of the things that I should ask council though, before we put it on social media and in the newsletter and to, especially because Golden Lake is shared by three municipalities and the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan. And so are we then just saying it's open like Renfrew's is and Pembroke's is?
I'd say we have to provide the service to
Okay.
everyone.
I just,
Because this way, what I want to touch on is if you're a tourist and you need a place, say you're going from point A to point B in Eganville, it's just along the way. If they're down there using the RV dumping station,
yeah,
they're going to see Centennial Park, they're going to see McCrae Park,
right.
they're going to see a lot of our services, our businesses. It's going to contribute to the community. So I think we really have to let anybody use it for sure.
I know that that's going to be a question, especially from the GLPOA.
Yep.
Is it open to everybody? And I wanted the answer to be yes, but I think all of council needs to be in agreement.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, do we have, there's no way of monitoring the amount of
That's just what I was gonna say. The only thing I never even considered was putting up camera, whether we should do that.
Well, I think wait and see if we have a problem.
Yeah,
Can't be too much of a problem.
and maybe a sign, no commercial dumping. We don't want anybody coming in with a big load. And you know what I'm saying? It should be, RVs use and recreational use only, right?
Good point.
Right.
Yep.
Yes. Very good point.
Anyways, when they'd want to dump there in the wintertime, it'd be lost.
Because I've already heard from people saying with their honey buckets and stuff, if they're set up on a lot or just even in visiting someone, just run it in and do so. So
What's a honey bucket?
well, it's a storage compartment you can dump your gray water and your black water into,
Oh,
and it's a contained. Usually has wheels. They load it on the back of a pickup. They can bring it and they can dump it there as well.
oh, okay.
So it gets rid of the wastewater, right? So
Okay. Yep.
honey wagon is what they most of them call it. Okay. Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Darrell.
I apologize. Can you halt PD? I need to take this.
Okay.
To the council, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, just, yeah.
Good job.
Oh, thanks. I was gonna look it up on email.
There's 1 minute delay on the audio.
Okay.
and video.
1 minute delay. So, WWE.
Hi, Bill.
Are we good to go?
You're good to go, Bill.
I apologize for not getting it out. It was a little late and I didn't realize I had as much to talk about as what I do. So it was supposed to be now. The first item was the dinner on the bridge because we need to go ahead and see what we're going to do for our road closure.
Apparently, that will be up to the community development group.
Okay.
I have a meeting tomorrow.
Okay,
So I'll send you an email and I'll
Perfect, and
CC
then
all
we can
council.
get that flying just because we have to go through the ministry to get going. Our sign reflectivity, we're going line for line here. I don't know if we're gonna have the manpower to get it done as according to the regulation, every 16 months. We didn't do it last
You
year.
forgot the last time. We still have a bad memory.
So we're probably looking at, if we don't do it ourselves, if we go to the county, we're looking at probably $5,000 to $6,000 to have it done.
Okay, can I say something before we move on here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this, I think, to every department head. Although we have a reprieve in 2019 from the province of Ontario, that reprieve is not going to continue. And it is my feeling right now that every nickel and dime is going to count. We have no extra room for anything. And if this is something that the province wants us to do, then I recommend they do it. And because there are some MTO signs out there that are not reflective. And if they want us to do it, then perhaps they should pay for it. That's my feeling right now. It is wonderful that we have this small reprieve this year. But guys, it's about to get very, very, very difficult. And I think that we all need to remember that moving forward. I know that budgets have been set and we're going to see the budget. Brian's going to present the budget. Just because it's in your budget doesn't mean you need to spend your budget.
Yeah.
And so I think that's got to be our mantra with all of our department heads. Obviously, with Daryl, it's a little more difficult being area rated just to the village.
And I think maybe if the opportunity presents itself, something like this should be brought to Clark's attention. I mean, they're talking about getting rid of red tape. This is a bunch of foolishness.
I would be happy to do so. Or Minister Urich, who is the Minister of Transportation. So I'm just putting it out there, and I'm not coming down on you as our road super. I'm just saying, just because it's in your budget, don't feel you need to spend it all.
So,
Just,
I guess the consensus from that is don't really worry about it.
yeah.
We're not
Way
gonna
to
sit
wrap it
and
up,
hit the
Jack.
panic
Way
button
to-
because you
yeah,
don't
no.
have it done.
But I've said this on a couple of occasions. I find it amazing that they want us to do it, but they're not doing it in total across Ontario.
I also need senior forgetfulness.
That's pretty much it. We have approval from the MOE for temporary disposal for our flood materials. We have not started doing any of our sandbag pickups. We're going to start doing that on Friday. So anyone calling, just bring it back to the curb. If you can't get it, we'll pick it up from there.
Bill, can you ask Dana to put that in the newsletter as well, please?
Actually, Dana, she received a comment on Facebook about our picking up bags this year, and I told her just send back to them the contact roads department. But I
Okay,
will.
but certainly that can go on our social media.
Yep.
And in the newsletter, just so that residents that are wanting to get rid of them know how to dispose of them properly.
Because
Maybe a little blurb about wearing gloves if you're going to move them.
I don't think there's that.
So there are still people probably still using them, right, Bill? Because they're still flooding. Golden Lake is still, I think, about 15, 18 centimeters over. or something.
Yeah, Merv had, we had a little sidebar earlier before council, and he had said that there was some had been dropped off of Sleepy Hollow that were at the end of Bonnechere Lodge. So they're starting to come out, and Sleepy Hollow, Hawkins were probably the worst
First hit.
worst spot. So
The Sleepy Hollow Road is dry now.
okay, so
And I
that's
brought-
probably what's going
I
on.
brought back about 50, I don't know how many, I didn't count them, empty sandbags. That one of the residents dropped off.
Yeah, because over the past, and they continue to drop, because over the past 3 weeks now, there's
That's going down.
six logs put in, right? at Tremont?
Okay, John, Mike. That's it for me.
Good go.
Short, sweet.
Just one comment, the Lake Clear Hill, that's all being looked after.
Oh,
You saw the last, everyone
Yeah.
saw the
Yeah.
last email that
Yeah.
came back. I think that what I put in that email is
Suffice to do the job.
is going to do it.
Yeah.
What more are you gonna do? Are
That's
you, are you going to go in with a whole ram and,
We're not gonna drill
you
them
know,
No.
drop 2 feet? I think the big problem on that whole event, obviously, the rainfall was way beyond what we were normally taking. And the other thing was the culvert at Donahue Trail was not taking the water. So when it was hitting it, it was jumping over. It washed out the whole road. It was 4 feet deep, probably 6 feet wide, and we're talking maybe 300 feet or in that area that it took. All that silt went down, filled the ditch and along Lake Clear. That in turn filled the culvert at the bottom, so the water couldn't get through. And it's a little, the water was running over the road past that culvert, and plus it was coming over into the yard in question.
That's
Yeah,
very
because that's not the only road that we had that flooded. So
No,
that's what I mean,
no.
so it's.
But that's also very similar to what happened a few years ago when the snow melt came off the mountain and took out Dale and Darcy's asphalt driveway, right? I mean, it undermined it, and from his emails, that's sort of what I was getting, that there were other problems, but snow load certainly this year.
Yeah, and I think there's no doubt that, you know, the mountain needs some ditching and cleaning out, like to try and control the water. If we go beyond Donahue Trail ahead up, it should help prevent a lot of that too, because prior to the water coming down to that area, we can divert it off to the right-hand side of Lake Clear as you were coming down, which is the way it's supposed or designed to work. So,
All right, any other questions for Bill? Thanks, Bill.
yeah, so we'll change those pipes. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And don't forget the bench.
I'm heading right there now.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
Dave around, do you know?
I have no idea.
Dave around?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, I did have.
we did,
Well,
what?
while we're waiting, Jen, remember way back, we talked about a delegation from the county going to east coast of Halifax or something regarding using plastic as part of paving?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah. No, you said we got someone going from the county.
No, that was incineration that somebody,
Oh,
they
okay.
went to FCM conference in Halifax last year, and they went and saw a plant
But there's,
and would bring
Okay, guys. I don't know where Mr. Murphy is, but,
He's not, he's on here for 3:15.
oh, 3:15 is he?
Yeah.
Okay, oh, yeah, sorry.
We're way ahead of
Oh,
Dave
we're way
here.
ahead, okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
That's my mistake.
Correspondence?
Yeah, we'll go ahead to correspondence, yeah.
So I have one question. There's a letter addressed to me from Minister Yakubuski, and it implies that there's a second letter from Minister Clark, and the letter from Minister Clark never made it into our correspondence package. So I'm not exactly sure what it said, but I would really like to see it.
Right here, Jen.
It's not, it wasn't PDF. It's only, oh,
Just music.
it's on a different page. It's a different piece of correspondence. Okay, but we already have our answer on that. In tree canopy.
Yeah.
Tree canopy, yeah.
Anything else from correspondence?
Oh, just amusing there. Wanting to get the Ogre and Good Rose. Do you think it'll ever happen?
So
What? Why did they have a falling out over that anyway?
now I can only speak to what I've been told is that Roma really wanted to form their own agenda, and that there were some issues over money, etc. That's what I've heard. I understand that the Roma board had a meeting after receiving a letter from the OGRA chair, and there doesn't seem to be any will of the Roma board to regroup and have a combined conference. I'm not exactly sure. There are quite a few municipalities that seem to want this conference put back together. I don't know what the will of this council is.
But like, we are far enough away to send somebody twice, but say if you're in Thunder Bay or Dryden or something, you send them once and they can take in both conferences.
And I mean, it's the cost of the conferences as well, right? When they divided, the cost of the actual conference itself was not reduced.
No.
But that being said, if it's the will of this council, we can send a letter to the Roma board and the OGRA board or a resolution. But at this time, I'm not sure to what end.
I see, changing the subject, I see there's a whole bunch objecting to Bill 108. I thought that was getting rid of bureaucracy and sort of.
That's the hope.
The hope.
Yes.
But how come they want to get rid of it?
I don't know.
I thought it was a move forward.
The other thing, and I know that this isn't at our table, but the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, the restructuring of public health units, that was born out of a conversation amongst the 13 of us that sit on the caucus with regards to wanting to, if we are going to amalgamate our public health units, and of course we've all heard that 10 is sort of the number. I think that we will probably see more than 10. But if it is going to be 10, we would prefer to be aligned with other rural communities and not swallowed up into urban. So that's why this resolution was passed. It has gone to the County of Renfrew, specifically to our Renfrew County District Health Board. And they will be discussing it to see what the preferred option for them is.
Hopefully it'll solve the problem of what we have with Ottawa right now.
Well, and there was an article that was written in the Brockville newspaper that was not correct, and it said that Renfrew County wanted to be part of Ottawa, and that was never said. We were not consulted on that. So
is that still ongoing? Do you know? Our paramedics will take a patient to Ottawa, then dispatch to Ottawa. Is that still ongoing, or did we put an end to that?
No, it's still ongoing. We have formed, in fact, yesterday, I was at the county for ostensibly the whole day. We have formed an ad hoc committee called the Health and Social Services Modernization. I'm sorry for everybody online. I can't think of the name of but we have formed a committee specifically to address the concerns of in-year freezes and, of course, things going forward in our service delivery model. So that includes paramedic service, long-term care homes, public health, and then on the social services side, Ontario Works, childcare, housing. So we are trying to find efficiencies that we can show the province that we are taking it seriously. One of the things that I know has been in the media, and I'm sure you guys know about, is that we have a Pembroke area property study going on. The idea is to have all of our entities under one roof, whether it be at the County Administration Building in Pembroke or at our CP Renfrew County Place in Renfrew. What this would mean would be our social services would be at one counter, which is going to be more efficient for our staff and for those vulnerable that need our services. And it also has savings in the form of things that you don't even think about, i.e. information technology, which we have at the County Administration Building, administration, human resources. So we're trying to find efficiencies through that again, we can show the province. But we're committed to figuring something out in the next 6 months, not waiting until budget 2020 when all of a sudden we're under the gun again. So it's no different than what I just said to our road super, and I'm going to say it to our fire chief in a minute. Realistically, thank you to the province for the reprieve, but this is not going to happen going forward. And just because it's in your budget doesn't mean that you should spend all your budget. Thank you.
Anything else with correspondence, guys?
Did you realize that the letter about the rooster was in correspondence?
No, I didn't.
Yes.
There it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, because you have it as number
Yeah,
6,
because
so I don't-
it was just
yeah.
given to me as a personal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't
I
know,
just realized.
do we want to talk about it then now? It's in correspondence, or what is there to do? Brian, do we have a bylaw for
Oh,
that?
yes.
Yes, we do.
You can't have a rooster
We have no bylaws, sir.
unless it's in a pot.
I may
Yeah.
have one next week. I'm meeting with our.
Okay.
You're allowed to have 4
Give it time,
chickens.
You'll have a
4
turkey.
chickens.
4
Oh,
chickens.
that's right, that was it.
No rooster.
No
No
roosters.
rooster.
4 chickens.
No one roosters crowing in town.
No. So,
You can't have a turkey.
no turkeys either. They go gobble, gobble, gobble.
Yeah. So, wait, so right now we have nobody to look at it.
I have no bylaw enforcement officer. I've said that now since
Okay.
February.
Well, this is very unfair to these people, especially because their neighbors are breaking the rules. Anyone want to take this on and go and have a chat?
Council for the area.
No, I
Oh,
have no problem going
You
to
got
conversation as long as you guys have send me the bylaw, I can review.
Yeah,
it.
the bylaw
Absolutely.
definitely says no roosters.
and Brent, I'm happy to go with you.
Oh, I'm fine going there myself. I
Okay.
know the gentleman that owns them, like I've spoken to him before. so-
Okay, so if we outfit with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Just
The
provide me
bylaw?
like the primary documents and then
Yeah,
I'm comfortable.
it's
that's
pretty
fine.
clear.
And then I'll just send an email. Okay.
Sounds good.
And then, like you say, next week we might know more.
Yes,
And I'm babysitting Reagan this week, so she's the ultimate, like, it's always sunshine with her. So it's
okay,
perfect.
excellent. Yeah, I don't think it's
Yeah.
fair.
No.
You know, roosters are loud. I didn't know that they would crow all day though.
Well, we certainly start going early in the morning,
Yeah.
daybreak,
Or they start early.
4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
now it's
that's-
fucking daylight.
That's just wrong.
Yeah.
It's just wrong.
That's Mexico, it's not.
4
Yeah.
seems like a good time.
Eh?
Tim's up at 4. I see his truck all the time.
Tim's
Dave's
Tim's
half, my day's half over by then, so. I don't
Yeah,
know what you guys are doing.
yeah.
Prime time, Tim.
Yeah.
Okay. You wanna get,
Are we done with correspondence?
I think so.
I don't-
There was no other questions on correspondence?
And we got the
Yeah.
3:15.
I don't think your power bar is turned on.
You know what?
There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, my
Man,
screen
you
just
know,
got
my
brighter.
screen's-
Oh, look
You know,
at that. The
I
future's so
thought it
bright.
was me.
No, it's just sabotage.
It's
That's
sabotage
right.
Yeah.
over there. So you can't see sabotage.
Oh, yeah, that's much brighter.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay, Dave, if you want to come ahead, we'll take your report. You're in here nice.
Hey, Dave.
Okay.
Good.
Too bad the fire chief isn't licensed to go and deal with bylaw.
You could make him.
Take care of chickens.
I don't want to know how you take care of chickens though.
Mhm.
Okay, so what do you got to enlighten us on, Dave?
A few things. As you see, our call rate is getting up there. If we keep on the trend, we'll be more than last year by the looks of it. Again, our MVCs even in through till May is half of our calls so far this year, which is kind of a bit of an anomaly. We're usually not that heavy into that kind of stuff, but
Right.
It is what it is for this year, I guess.
Can
We
I
did.
just ask something? Do
Yeah.
you think that's due to the weather?
Initially, well, yeah, earlier in the year.
Because
Yeah,
in
driving
April,
habits, yeah, for sure.
in
Yeah.
April you had 5. So by then people have their snow tires off, but we had snow.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there.
It was a long winter.
Yeah, well, April was the most, right?
Yeah.
And
So,
in our prayer, there was snowflakes yesterday, so.
Are you
And that's
serious?
Yeah, snow in the park, and so it's June and we're still getting flurries, so safe to say, don't take your snow tires off this year.
Yeah.
Just leave them
So
on.
leave them
Yeah.
on.
You got to change.
It's, yeah.
Yeah, either change their
That's-
tail where they always were, and don't take them off because you never know.
That's good advice maybe this year. No, even driving to the county building yesterday, it was 4 degrees and I thought, is it going to start to snow?
I've seen, and it's not very far from here, just north of Huntsville on Highway 11 between Huntsville and South River,
Mhm.
de-icing agents being used already the 3rd week of August. So if that's the case, we're in for a small window of summer tires,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
as personnel goes, we have a few more applications. We're keeping steady around 30. I do have a few more that I'm going to be bringing into interview shortly, so we'll be able to bump up the numbers a little bit. But right now, 30 seems to be a good number for us as far as the amount of people that are coming out to calls and the variety of different occupations that they have. They have an excellent daytime response right now, so it seems to work out really well.
So you have a sufficient number of people coming.
Yeah, we're doing okay that way.
That's good.
Yeah, so which is good, which is nice to see. Last month I talked about the they call it a rapid stabilization and lift kit. It arrived, so we put it into service here at Station 1. What it is, it's going to replace what we had here. As instead of individual lift bags, it's one big apparatus that's about 4 inches tall. It expands to about 30 inches and it'll lift 31 tons. So it's on wheels and it's got a handle so you can roll it under a vehicle and lift it up within seconds. So yeah, so it's going to work out well. We've trained with it already. So and I've moved the stuff that was current here is up at our Station 2 to replace the older stuff that they had. So we're doing well. Having both stations do heavy extrication, we're able to do the hand-me-down thing. So when the stuff comes out of service here, that's still good. Try to keep the newer stuff here because we're on contract right outside of the township. And then as it ages and we want to do a replacement, that stuff goes up to the other hall.
So where does the stuff, the hall go that was up there?
The stuff that was at the hall up there goes down into storage here as a spare, right? In case we do have a breakage or whatnot.
Right.
So we never take it out of service.
Okay.
It's just on the shelf now in case there's a problem with the equipment that we have in service now.
So your next extrication training, can we go?
Yeah, we're actually going to have one Canada Day. We have a demonstration happening as well Canada Day. But the next training, we just had extrication training, but we are doing a demo on Canada Day.
Where are you
at
doing
Legion
that?
Field, or wherever the Canada Day stuff is. Yeah.
At Rotary Beach.
Oh, okay. Rotary Beach. Yeah. So we're setting something up there. Something's in the works.
The chief, just on Canada Day, the chief paramedic is going to send us some apparatus on the drone. So that should be fun for Canada Day as well.
Okay.
Yeah, forgot to tell you guys that.
EDPS is having their fun fair this Thursday, so we have a bunch of people from our prevention. We'll bring a couple trucks out and spend some time with them as well. Last Saturday, we had some department members go to Calabogie and attend it was a Renfrew County training day. It was put on by the Renfrew County Chiefs Association, and they thought it was quite worthwhile going down to see, so that was good. We try to do that with those once a year. Firework committee has met briefly, and they're going to meet again with regards to doing placing the order, looking at what they have as far as equipment goes, and coming up with an order to pass through me for approval and make sure everything looks good. Depending on the amount of money, they do have a few upgrades to their electronics they want to make. And the person that's in charge of that says it's not overly expensive. So we should be able to fall well under what we had talked about before. So as far as dollars go, so I think it'll work out a really good show. I'm also going to reach out to North Algonquin Wilberforce for some manpower help on that day to help set up.
Yes.
Since they're now included themselves in the presentation. So.
The discussion I had with their mayor was that he said that perhaps some of their firefighters would like to eventually become licensed or maybe have a couple of shoots under their belt, so that this is, I mean, it's a great partnership between the two municipalities, but it's also very handy to have as many people as possible licensed to shoot.
So as long as we do have some people that have taken the initial course, they would be permitted to come out and get some shoot, at least that one shoot under their belt. Yeah, so that would be great if one of them or more than one had that. I can inquire with their fire chief about that and see if he knows of anybody that's really the more hands on deck down at the shoot site, the better. You know, it makes a lot less work for
more hands on deck. 1 to 6 from here.
Absolutely.
2 to 6 from here.
Like last year, it was about 40 degrees, and we had a handful of people setting up, and it was bad. So
that was not a good
the
day.
more the merrier. So our call rate for illegal fires this year has gone way down, and I attributed that to maybe that it's maybe a little bit of weather, but I think messaging as well. Our Facebook site's pretty good for messaging about sending people to the bylaw. The permit process. Lorna does an excellent job getting messages out there, and they're shared far and wide. So I'm glad to see that.
And the newsletter, yes.
The newsletter as well. I'm glad to see that because it's a huge waste of taxpayer dollars. Us running out on calls that we shouldn't be running out on because people don't inform themselves or educate themselves. So it's great. You've probably all read in the newspaper, but May 14th, we responded to EDPS for fire alarm. It turned out gas detection, our gas meters went off, the gas detectors went off while we were in the school. So the department did an excellent job along with the staff at EDPS mitigating that circumstance and sending people down to the arena. I think they were able to get into the arena fairly quickly. A couple phone calls because it was closed, I believe, at the time, but somebody did respond there and let the kids in, so it worked out really well. Unfortunately, I wasn't at that one, but I was able to help via telephone and make sure that things happened the way they should have. So, good job to the fire department for sure.
Yeah. So was it an actual gas leak, or was it just?
Well, it was carbon monoxide was the main.
Okay.
And it was in around their boiler area. So when they went to go down the stairs, the meter went off, the detector went off. So we had them shut everything down and come in and do a full maintenance. And I attended afterwards to talk to the staff, the board staff.
So if you could, Dave, bring me up to speed. If there is an incident at the public school, the evacuation point is the arena?
That's right.
Now, is there someone designated at the school to have keys or whatever to get into the arena?
That is coordinated through Kevin. People have the phone numbers.
Maybe we should appoint or ask him to give a principal or somebody at least some sort of, because if it's 30 below and in the wintertime,
Yep.
I'm sure we could trust the principal to look after that key.
Yeah, and that was a discussion that was had, and we'd have to, yeah.
Okay,
maybe
just that if
Brian
it's
would
part
talk
of
to-
2 or 3
I
different
would have-
departments, right?
I would have no problem
I
with
think
that
we
at
should look
all.
into that.
Because it's wonderful that the fire department works with the schools for a proper evacuation plan, and obviously the evacuation plan worked.
Mhm.
I can't imagine how scared those kids were, but it worked. But I do agree that I think once they get to that evacuation point, they should be able to get into the facility.
Because they're all leaving without their stuff. A lot of times, no jackets, no clothes, no
Yeah.
heavy stuff, right? So if we can get them back indoors, it'll keep them warm, because like we know winter's 12 months a year around here. So I think it's just a good thing to do, set it up.
I would have no problem with that.
No,
Sure.
absolutely.
I think beyond drills, I think this is the first time it's been used in my tenure here.
Well, but
Absolutely.
yeah, and one thing that history usually always repeats itself. So I think maybe we should take it as a good lesson.
Yeah.
If it were to occur at the separate school, where would they go? To St. James Church?
Same thing, yes. So I know the discussion was had about keys. I wasn't sure where it ended between Kevin and the principal, because there was an alarm system question about alarm code, and a kind of a security question. And I thought that Kevin had said that, if somebody is always around. It's a matter of the time it takes for the kids to walk down, the office can be called and somebody can be dispatched to get open.
And it's always within hours, right?
Within work hours.
Yeah.
So we have to.
Maybe something
We can talk to
for
Kevin.
the CAO to remind us to talk to Kevin about.
And if they are only 2 or 3 minutes away, well, that's not too big of
No.
a concern, but we don't want to get somebody on holidays sometime and this happen, right? Because worst
Or they're in
case
the middle of
scenario
grocery
usually
shopping.
happens. Exactly.
Also, we had recently, it happened already, amendments to the Fire Protection and Prevention Act. There is a new bill, Schedule 29 of Bill 100. It's Protecting What Matters Most Act. And what they've done is they've strengthened the reporting the fire departments are required to do. They've also beefed up the powers that we have as far as fines, cost recovery for demolishing buildings that have to be demolished after fires. Set out different parameters as far as when the fire marshal's office has to be called. One that was interesting is a fire where a loss is significant to a community. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a dollar figure anymore, or an injury or an explosion or a death. If it's a significant loss to a community, the fire marshal's office wants to be involved as well. So whatever that may be or how that's defined, I would assume it's by the province.
If I may, Mr. Chair, as my head is going to pop off my body, this is just one more piece of reporting that this government said they were going to reduce red tape and regulations. So my question to you, Chief, is you are the one that does the reporting to the fire marshal. In your estimation, is your reporting requirement at this time sufficient? And if it is sufficient, then what are you and your colleagues, especially in Renfrew County, doing about pushing back on the government, sending letters? Now you're under the Ministry of the Solicitor General, which is Minister Sylvia Jones. This flies in the face of exactly what this government is saying. And there is an inherent expense to you sitting behind a desk and doing reports. And I'm not saying you as in you, Dave Murphy, I'm saying as in our fire chiefs that are in small municipalities have limited budgets, especially for wages. And what is the matter with the reporting that you're doing right now? As you can tell, I didn't know anything about this, and I'm not very happy.
This goes hand in hand with reporting for an investigator as well. So I've got the new directive as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, where the POC center has to be notified. 9 different circumstances now. Fires,
Provincial
always-
Emergency
yeah.
Operations Center.
But how many was it prior to this?
3, 4,
3?
yeah, 4 maybe. Depending on, a lot of it was dollars, injury, death, and explosion. That was our 4 big ones, right? So now we call the OFM, or before it was the OFM, now it's the Emergency Operations Center. We give them the scope of what the incident is, and then either somebody gets back to you if you're lucky, or you can talk to somebody right there. So the issue is that if there isn't somebody that's available, an investigator that's available, and they want to investigate it, now we have to make sure the chain of command isn't compromised, which means we have to sit on,
Secure the scene.
secure the scene. So police aren't going to do that here. So generally, unless it's a crime, unless it's deemed criminal. So we're now on the hook for security, right? Most of the times they're okay, but there are times that, you know, they may take some time, depending on how many fires are happening, or how many investigators are out working in the province, right, on cases, right? They only have so many, right? So it's a little bit more.
So how are your lobbying efforts with the other chiefs amongst Renfrew County? I mean, are you hearing anything about these additional
No, because
requirements?
it's brand
When did it come out?
new. May 30th. Communique came out.
Oh, is that, so Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So Thursday and Friday, the province seems to have elected to do a lot of communication to us, not with us.
Direction.
This is problematic in so many ways. They want us to find efficiencies. I was going to say to the chief exactly what I said to our road super and exactly what I just said. Just because you have the budget, don't feel that you have to spend the budget, because we are going to be in very tough times next year. And this is one of those moments where my fear is that this is a bureaucratic decision, not a political decision. And what do you need from us to push back and say, this is not required in rural Ontario? This is the kind of thing that makes my blood boil when they're asking us to pull back on budgets, to pull back on our spending, but this will directly impact our budget. At $19 an hour to have 2 firefighters sit on a scene or 3 firefighters sit on a scene, the extra reporting. Why are you going through the POC? You don't report to the POC. You report to the Ontario Fire Marshal's office.
we do now, and I'll just give you just quickly. Fires resulting in a fatality or serious injury, to be requiring a person to be admitted as an inpatient is a responsibility of us to report. Explosions we knew about. Fires suspected to be a criminal we knew about. Fires significant loss to the community. Fires of unusual origin or circumstance. Fires resulting in unusual smoke or fire spread. Fires involve circumstances that result in widespread public concern. Multi-unit residential occupancies and clandestine drug operations, which is really involved.
Definitely written by someone in the city.
So that's a lot, a lot more than what we're used to, but that's the new rule.
All right. So what are we going to do about a gang?
Push back.
Push back.
Well, reporting isn't the problem, right? Like, it's a phone call, right? You report it, but it does add to the workload when once an investigator shows up. We had our last investigator was a house fire down on Highway 41. Your work is tenfold when an investigator is involved as far as paperwork goes, as far as my paperwork goes.
That's
It means all of our officers now have to do detailed reports. They do reports now, but they're detailed as they would be a court case report. So it does increase the workload considerably.
Yeah, but David also increases the workload if you have to secure the scene.
That's
that's
wages. That's just time, right?
Yeah, but that's budget.
Yeah.
That's budget. That's wages.
So it is, on the flip side, the new legislation as well, more money for fines, but the fines, if we don't see the benefit of the fine, if we find somebody for something out of the fire code, if they've increased the smoke alarm fine, I believe if they fight it, the money doesn't, not, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but the percentage of the money that comes back to the township if it goes to court is non-existent, right? So our only hope of recouping is having people pay early, right? Not going to court to fight things. So increasing it just increases the money to the government, the province.
Oh,
So,
I'm vibrating. I'm so angry.
it is what, you know.
This is, I just, at every turn, I feel like they're asking us to do something and we want to do it, but then they're putting this kind of legislation on us.
Well, I think the only thing we can do is pass a resolution and say we're not in agreement with this, something to that effect, right? And that's
Okay.
all. What for?
I think we
Support.
passed, okay, so we passed a resolution, but I also think a very well worded letter to Mr. Jones. This is,
Well, it's because you can't increase from 4 to 9, expect, you know what I mean?
Well, and I see where they're going with it. I see that, you know, it's taking, you know, more of a responsible approach to fire prevention down the road. It's a you know, it's short-term pain for long-term gain. I think it's where they're gathering their statistics. The OFM is all about statistics. And if they can see trends, then they try to do their prevention geared towards that, just to stop things from happening. You know, prevent loss of property and injury and life. But, you know, it's just the evolution, I think, of the fire service.
So are you comfortable with this, Dave, then, or what do you think we should push back or what?
I think pick our battles. And I think battle we did pick earlier was certification and how they brought that out. I don't think you can fight everything.
that was with a different government though.
Different government, yeah. So I think I truly believe after doing this for as long as I have, that you can pick your battle. This wouldn't be one that I would pick.
Your pick.
No, there would be more. There are going to be more coming down the road.
So
Yeah.
and you, on your, if you took a look at your fire and your incidents,
Mhm.
how would this, going over last year or the last couple of years, what sort of impact would this have? It would have been, is there multiple, not really?
This is going to impact municipalities that have a lot of structural fires.
Right.
Right. We don't in particular. So if that trend keeps going forward, it's not going to affect us all that much. Right. Some municipalities have a lot.
I'm not only thinking about Bonnechere Valley, I'm thinking Ontario-wide, rural, you know, this is another thing that obviously is going to satisfy the OFM with regards to urban centers, where there is skullduggery and arson and other awful things. I respect your opinion, and perhaps this isn't a hill we want to die on, but this is exactly the sort of thing that we said we would push back on if it flies in the face of less red tape and regulation. This is one of those times where we need to say to the province, this is not helping our budgets. This is not helping us find efficiencies and do as you asked us to do. You know, like you're a part-time chief. A lot of our Renfrew County municipalities now have full-time chiefs for exactly this reason, because the legislation keeps growing.
The fact of the matter is this legislation is going to directly affect large urban centers more than rural.
Yeah.
Because that's where most of the fatalities happen and most of the fires happen.
Not only that, we're talking about a fire with excessive smoke, a junkyard fire in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what do you guys think then? Just
well, if I'll go with the chief's recommendation for now, but I will be speaking to the Renfrew County councillors when I'm there next week. We push back on the community safety and well-being plan. I know that plan is a 4-letter word in this room right now, but this is one more. And I said it, I find it so ironic that they want us to have all these plans, but they're giving us things without reasoning right now. We need reasons for why this is happening. And is there funding going to be coming to us to help with the extra workload, with the extra wage budget, with the extra whatever budgets. I will respect what the chief is saying, Mr. Chair.
So at this time, then we'll just,
I've had my rant. It's on YouTube.
we'll leave you, you can keep track, and then if it sort of gets out of hand, you can let us know.
I can follow up with you next meeting.
I would really,
Yeah.
yes.
And see if you're talking to the other chiefs in the area, see what their take is on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for, do you have anything else more for us?
I don't, no.
The stage just gets better
Yeah.
and better.
Any more questions for Dave?
I'm good, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we're on to new and unfinished business, budget presentation.
Do I take 5 before we get into this?
You can, you want to take a break? We can take a break.
Well, we're way ahead.
Yeah,
We're way ahead.
okay, we'll take 5.
We're not Hootie. Poor Hootie. Thank you. This is, where did you find this?
Last year's.
I love it. Thank you. For seniors month.
I text into the office and then they do it. I shoot it back in.
I love it.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Go at it. Yeah. This is stupid.
Did everybody just hear what the chief said?
You just added.
Can you believe that they would do this?
What happened on Friday?
Oh, 2 funding pots for long-term care went away.
Okay.
They were small, but still, about 100,000 for each home. Oh, good, we're still on, and I just had another rant. I just can't, I'm beyond angry. This is gonna be a great YouTube channel. People are gonna be like, let's
sign up for this.
let's sign up to see what the crazy mayor's gonna say.
Not just crazy mayor, all the councilors.
Come on.
Well, at least you're finishing your term for warden, so that's possible.
No, it is. No shit, man.
Doing a good job.
I just don't know what to do, Dan.
Yeah.
Like I just,
So, are we even doing this one?
what's that one?
Or shoot?
Oh. Oh, give me that.
I tried to click on it.
Yeah, how are we supposed to do this in light of?
I didn't start it. Oh, there. Right here.
Some?
To me, it should stay there.
How do I?
We're not proving it. Still on?
Okay, yeah, it's less than this.
Yeah, you gotta turn it off.
It keeps moving around.
Can't turn it off?
No.
Okay, can't turn it off.
There's a lag.
5 seconds left.
Yeah.
Get it to return to the meeting.
So Brian, you're gonna email the budget then later too, please? Pretty please? Just ignore me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you ask him?
I can't do that one, John. I can't do that one.
I'm trying to figure this out because I'm not sure that I got what I want, doing what I wanted.
Oh, that's how I found the link. But you should
Well, this is in the book.
search.
Yeah, but I have to recuse.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
it should be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
If not, I can email you. I would want to tell you the link. but- Oh, okay.
Well, let's go.
I think we should have a treadmill here. We should have a treadmill here. Pictures getting off our break.
You can. Our little camera's still rolling there, Murph.
Yes, it is.
No, they just.
Okay.
So dot out. Dan, AUR.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But you know what, if you ever cancel your Bell Internet, those emails are gone. That email, I canceled my Bell Internet, and the next morning, they shut down all my emails. Just like
So
that.
this is going to be on Facebook,
I
Brian,
didn't
or
have
what's going to be
time
on?
to change it.
You
To
do.
notify anybody.
It's already there. I just can't turn to the meeting here to mute it.
Okay, yeah, just give me your email, I'll email it to you.
It's So I'll just put this back out there and see. if
What, you
that
just
goes
applied to
in.
YouTube on the internet, or?
Sorry. Probably not, but gmail.com.
No. I can't
No, I
do what I wanted to do at all.
Are yours the behind the ones? They, well, like going here. Yeah, my mom has the ones that fit right in. Mine doesn't work. Okay. My dad has those, but he doesn't use his.
Couldn't find something. Well, that's why I'm sitting there. I thought it
And you
turned out
still
this loud.
can't.
Well, it's because the voices that are coming this way, you know.
Yeah.
If I sat there, I'd be better. But
I know, I don't know, I'm like,
I don't think.
How was
that's
church
allowed.
on Sunday there,
I think I'm
Tim?
pushing it over there. Thank you.
Well, I was looking.
Six months of council did to me. Murph's only 29.
All right. So ready to go back at it?
All right, Brian,
Okay,
take us
Brian.
away.
I think about a minute from now, we'll get the video. So just to go over our presentation related to where the budget is. Council spent a lot of time preparing this. And I've just done a quick summary overview of the numbers. Details are available if somebody wants more detail that's in the presentation. So our taxation revenues in 2019 are projected to be $3,270,369. The curbside area rate, which is actually where everybody that gets garbage collection in the village pays that's $65,000 for their curbside. Grants in lieu are payments, formerly known as payments in lieu from the province, only $41,000 there. The partnership fund, as you can see, is a significant portion of our overall budget of $1.5 million. There's talk, I think, at the provincial level that they've asked municipalities to cut their overall expenditures by 4% in the large urban centers. So just to give you an idea, that works out this year for us to about $280,000 that we would have to cut from our budget next year, if that's in fact what they come and tell us they're doing. The gas tax was doubled this year. It's $222,910. That's a federal program. We have other municipal grants that work out to $961,000 this year. Revenues of other revenues at $903,000 that we generate. Recreation generates $232,000.
So our total budget for revenues and expenditures this year is $7,206,719. That does not include a project for which we've applied for grant funding that we have not had approved yet. But if we get that, there's an additional 1.7 million coming into municipal revenues this year. So we'll have about a $9 million operating budget this year, inclusive of capital, and about another 800,000 in the water department. So just shy of $10 million.
So I think it's fair to say for the people in the gallery and the press, that $1.7 million project is the rehabilitation of 4th Street Road. It was an application that was put forward last year to the province. Of course, we went into an election and they were all deferred until this year. So it has now gone to the province and it is pending approval from the province, which is then nominated to the federal government. And so our hope would be that those steps would be taken very quickly because of course we know that we're going into a federal election. So those grants are being reviewed through the ICIF program, formerly known as the OCIF program. So that's why Brian's got it separated out, just so everybody understands.
So just to give you an idea how we break down for revenues, a large portion of that, 21% of our revenues comes from the provincial government in the form of our partnership fund. So it would be really nice if the province would advise us formally what they intend to do with our grants and funding for next year so that we could better start planning for it. It's really difficult to plan for something if you don't know how much you need to plan for. So in 2019, we got a very big, a lot of projects we're planning this year. We've got the Whitkey Road is being reconstructed with a single surface treatment and some padding over 3.8 kilometers of road. The budget anticipated for that is $97,200. Western Drive as well, while we're on Whitkey, is being padded and single surface treated for 0.7 kilometers, so that's another $20,300. The Gristmill Road, we're anticipating reconstructing it, pulverizing and paving 0.7 kilometers. That'll take us to the North Algonquin border, and we're anticipating costs of that to be about $85,883. We're planning to redo 5.7 kilometers of the McGrath Road. That involves construction, redoing some gravel work, as well as a double surface treatment across 5.7 kilometers of road. That is not the entire road, but it is some of the road that the roads department feels needs to be salvaged now. Riverside, we had set that project aside last year. The contractor ran into an early winter and didn't get back to finish it for us, so it's anticipated to be completed shortly. That's 19,000 that we had put into reserves that'll come out from last year's reserves. Queen Street from Patrick to the Fort Chute, in anticipation of possibly redoing the Fort Chute Road, will be shaved, paved, and recurbed from Patrick to Fort Chute in the amount of $167,000 this year. Subject to the grant approval, we do plan to redo the Fort Chute Road from the village limits all the way to the bridge at the caves. Our share of that project is $118,965. That money has been allocated in this budget, subject to receiving $1.7 million from the provincial and federal governments.
Just to touch on that, Brenda, on that road, that's where there'll be bike lanes and stuff. That's part of the grant.
There will be widening, yes, I believe the surface there will go to a full 8-meter top, which will, and there'll be reditching and allowing for bike lanes, and of course, making sure that it's a little safer for our buggies that are on the road from the Mennonite population as well. And there's a lot of trucks from the 2 quarries up and down that road. So this should resolve current safety and future safety concerns on the road. Our waste sites, when you combine the costs of operating snow drifters and curbside pickup, we've got $132,900 being spent. The Highway 41 and Sand Road sites, which are now both transfer stations, about $96,000. Lake Clear and McGrath Roads, about $83,000 to operate. And the Ruby Road, which is now, of course, the transfer station and our municipal landfill, about $81,000 to operate. And then just general waste costs that can be attributed to no specific waste site, about $74,000. So our total waste costs for this year are $467,000. In general government, our expenditures this year are anticipated to be 1.5 million, just shy of 1.6. Protective services, including the OPP, $1.2 million. Our roads department is anticipated, we're anticipating 2.9 million in the roads department, which does not include the reconstruction of the Fort Chute Road. And then, of course, environmental services at 467,000.
That, Brian, that environmental, does that have to do with the dumps or is that with the other?
That's all of our dumps, yeah.
All of our dumps.
That's just the grand total of our waste management costs.
Right.
So then we've got recreation and culture, which includes all of our parks and our library and our museum and the tourist booth and all of those types of things. Just shy of $518,000 this year. Planning and development, we do mostly with the county, and most of it is on a cost recovery basis. Therefore, it's only about $25,000. The Eagle's Nest and the arena costs about $456,000 roughly in annual operating costs to keep that running. So our total expenditures, of course, 7.2 million, and that does not include, it includes our portion of the Fort Chute Road. And should that project not be approved, then we'll bring back a staff report and recommend what to do with that. So to just kind of break down where our expenditures are, transportation is the largest part, is 41%, followed by general government at 22%, and protective at 17%, environments at 7%. Rec and culture and the arena combined are 13%. So in 2018-19, council was very adamant they wanted to keep the levy increase, and that's the total municipal taxation raised as low as we possibly could, understanding that there was a 1.8% increase in cost of living in 2018. What we brought forward after a lot of deliberation was a 0.8% increase, which is the new construction that's occurred, and the additional assessment as a direct result of that new construction in our greater community. There's a 1% levy increase that's generally applied across the board. So this year's increase in our municipal portion of the levy is 1.8%. We did have a reassessment increase of just over 4%. So in most cases, that if your tax assessment did not go up, your tax bill will go down. So just to give you a highlight, 2005 all the way through to 2019, and this does include schools and it does include the county's levy. We've gone since 2005, we've gone from $1,500 on $100,000 in assessment. In 2019, we're down to $1,188 on that same $100,000 in assessment. So, and over last year, we were at $1,207. So that really is the news that we have related to the budget. And of course, if anyone wants the budget in its entirety, line by line, I certainly can provide that for their review. And I certainly am prepared to explain anything that that people are looking for.
And you'll put that on our website as well?
I can make that available on our website, yes.
Any questions from council on it?
Maybe at this time, you might want to open it up to questions from the media.
From the media.
Yeah, just because we're on it.
Brian, can you just tell us those figures again? For the assessment, like if your assessment has remained the same, or council, you guys probably know the number as well.
Yep.
Like, what was it again? In 2019?
1188.
1188.78 is $100,000 in assessment.
Okay.
And it was
For 2019?
Yes.
Yeah.
And for 2018?
It was 12.
For 2018, it was 1207.34.
Okay.
So if your assessment did not go up, you will see that basically $20 difference in your tax bill this year.
Yeah, so I guess I'd like to start just to get a couple of comments from you guys as council, because I know you guys have deliberated on this for a long time and we weren't part of that. So just how you feel about the budget. Maybe you guys could just go around the table and say how you feel about this year's budget.
Go ahead. Do you want to start, Marv, or what do you?
Yeah. Well, we worked a long time with the budget. We did some cuts to bring things in line, and I'm very happy with the budget as it sits now.
No, I'm satisfied with the budget. We talked about it at several of the budget meetings, and moving forward, we just want to obviously try to keep taxes as low as possible and try to bring as much new growth to compensate an increase. It's kind of my viewpoint.
You want us to go first? Yeah, there was quite a bit of time and effort put in the budget. We come in with the mindset not to raise any of our municipal taxes. I think on a whole, like Brian gave the directive to all the department heads to come in with their budget, come in with 10%, I believe.
Yeah.
10% reduction prior to even bringing it to the table. And they did a good job at doing that. And even after that, we went through and did some more cuts where we saw that we thought we could handle right now. And I think we did pretty well about best as we could do right now with the budget.
Did you say a 10% reduction?
Yes.
That's what the department heads were given prior to bringing the budget to us.
Yeah, that's pretty major.
Yeah, so.
But they did it.
They did it, and then we.
I'm happy with the budget as well. I know I always communicated very well that I wanted to see a reduction in taxes. I think we scratched the surface on finding efficiencies within. As far as it goes and how much more we can go, it's totally unknown at this point in time, but I'm quite comfortable with what we did and how everybody did come together. And they worked well on finding those efficiencies before we really had to do it. And everybody, I'm sure, did a good job. All the department heads with what they've done.
So on behalf of council, I want to thank our CAO and all of our department heads. They were given a very difficult task, knowing that the provincial government absolutely wanted us to find some efficiencies. And I think 10% was a very lofty goal. Every one of them managed to do so. I think that I'm quite proud of council. I actually didn't feel that it took us that long. We had one proper budget day and then the morning of another council day, and I think that was appropriate, that we didn't waste taxpayers' money having 4 budget meetings. But I also think that every one of you came here prepared to tackle what we knew was going to be a very difficult budget. So from my standpoint, I truly appreciate your diligence in making sure that the work that needed to be done prior to our budget meeting got done. And I think that showed in where we were able to find other, I hate to use the word cuts, but budget impacts for 2019. That being said, the hard work is ahead of us, not behind us. And I think that there's going to have to be, as we know, obviously we've already started discussions with North Algona Wilberforce about sharing some services and about how we can find efficiencies between the two of us. I don't think that it stops with North Algona. I think that there are other municipalities that perhaps have best practices that we could put into play. I think that it was very prudent, as we talked about earlier, when there is something that is red tape and regulation, such as the sign reflectivity, that is something that we just did not budget for and we can't budget for. So I'm very proud of this budget. I want to reiterate to our press and the gallery that it was a 1% tax levy impact. The other 0.8 was real new construction. And I think that's a very important distinction for our public to understand, that 0.8% is strictly about the people that have built homes and now are paying taxes also on filled buildings. So I think that that's a very important distinction for everybody to recognize. But I truly do appreciate everything our staff, our senior leadership team and council did to make this budget a reality. And now we roll up our sleeves and for the next 6 months, figure out, you know, Brian said it before, they are saying 4% for large urban, even though they're not saying it for rural or northern. It would be, in my estimation, a very prudent move to find 4% before we go into the 2020 budget.
So do you not feel like, I mean, since you had asked the department heads to bring in 10% savings, do you not feel like you already did find savings this year? Like you could go back and tell the province if they were asking you?
Absolutely, we could, yes. And just, Deb, for clarification, Brian is the one that told our department heads.
Okay.
So it was, I mean, he saw the writing on the wall because for the last 8 months or 9 months at this table, we've been saying it's going to be lean times. So yes, to answer your question, I believe that we can go to the province and say, look what we've done, we've achieved this. My concern going forward, however, is specifically on the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund. My hope is that the province is going to rework that fund to make it what it was originally intended to do in 1998. Is that correct? Okay, so in the original intention was that it was to help rural and northern. It has migrated into not only small urban, but large urban as well. And so my hope is that that fund will be reworked, but I don't think that it's smart of us sitting at this table not expecting a 4% reduction in that fund. So I guess my answer is twofold. Yes, we did an excellent job this year of controlling spending, but this will be so dependent on that partnership fund next year and the years going forward. I don't believe that this is a problem in 2019 or 2020. I think this is going to be a challenge going forward. I think we're going to see year over year decreases in that fund because it is one place that the province can find savings. But this is also where I lose my temper over red tape and regulations that cost us that don't seem to have any need in rural Ontario. And I'm going to go back to the community safety and well-being plan. If that's a plan they want, have the OPP do the plan. You can't put $100,000 plan on a municipality where $100,000 is another 3.5% on our tax bill. We can't have that. We can't afford it. And so those are the funds, or those are the plans, and like this reporting from the fire chief, it just isn't good for rural Ontario with our budgets.
So the Forest Chute Road is dependent on getting, like, it was provincial and federal program, right? So it's provincial, like, depending on what happens with the feds.
We were given the opportunity to resubmit under an accelerated program because it's believed we would have been successful under the old program last year. So we're basically in the waiting here now. So we're hoping that before the federal government recesses for summer, knowing that there's a pretty good chance that when they reconvene next, it'll be to drop the writ and nothing further will be done. So we're hoping we're going to hear sooner than later that that project's been approved.
Was money not put in reserves last year from the last year's budget for Forest Chute?
No,
Yeah,
a little bit, but yeah.
Not quite enough.
Yeah.
It was the two different programs and the way they were funded are different. So we topped it up a little bit.
Okay. And that's my last question is, so what about like reserves and stuff? Like what's our status on that?
We're still managing. I mean, certainly reserves, you can always use more in reserves, but it's hard to pay for yesterday, today, and tomorrow and put away reserves at the same time.
Let's remember also that over the last few years, we have had a lot of infrastructure money in Bonnechere Valley. And so knowing that we have a contribution to make when we haven't budgeted for a project, but that project comes in, certainly we don't want to start giving back, millions of dollars. And so we do take that money out of reserves, which is exactly what it's meant for, capital tangible assets, right? As opposed to operational budget items, which I would never want to see reserves used for unless it was something catastrophic. So just so everybody understands, so we apply to the province nominates to the feds said it's yay or nay, but it's funded through the province. Like it filters down.
Is it one of those tri-partnerships?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Although in this case, it's a lot more on the province than the feds, as you can see from the $1.7 million project. And the 118, which, I mean, I think all around the table, we felt that that was a very important investment in a road that, quite frankly, is dangerous. Tim's not saying a word about it.
No, I have no opinion on the matter.
No. You know what I did wonder, is it being realigned as well in a couple of places?
I think there's a bit of straightening, but I don't think that there's anything
Significant.
significant.
But the widening will help.
Yes.
All right.
Widening will give you the impression that
And that's-
it's being straightened.
It's like the bridge on 512. Like, it feels so expansive now. I don't drive over it like this.
Try to meet 2 tractor trailers where it used to be.
I can't even fathom that. I can't even, so it's exponentially better now.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Because I used to have to gauge whether I was going to meet one in a certain spot or not because we didn't want to touch one another.
Of course.
So
And you basically almost would have.
in the next corner closer to your place, you almost do. Like
Wow.
there's no way you can stay on your own side of the road within them lanes with tractor trailers on the next corner past yours.
They're realigning there.
You can't do it. I have to either take the ditch with the loader or vice versa. Not the ditch, but off to the
But yeah,
shoulder.
what shoulder?
And that's what happens,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
disappears. So it's really nice to see any widening projects go forward.
From Silver Lake to Miller Road is being done right now. Like that project is starting.
Good.
Yeah. I have recused, of course. So they're putting everything in. They're gonna start purchasing properties. They've done their drilling. Yeah.
Almost up at.
Oh, yes. I know where you're saying.
Harvey,
Yep.
Heavy Millers,
Yep.
old place.
Across from Hyman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Harvey's.
Yep.
So any other questions from?
So that amount that
Oh.
you gave, Brian, that's with the county and the education portion factored in,
Yeah.
right?
Included in it, yes.
I thought so.
And I'll forward that to you. If you
No, I
need a
appreciate
breakdown, I can probably get you the breakdown if you'd like it as well, Debbie.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. No, that's my final question on that one. Thanks.
Rudy?
I don't, Debbie covered it all.
As she always does.
Okay. Any other questions from council? No?
You gonna open it up to the gallery now?
Well, the gallery wants any questions?
Is the council meeting-
great job with the budget.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
What?
I hope Hootie got them clapping.
What do you got?
You want to clap some more? We need it.
That's very kind of you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, for sure.
We,
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
I was concerned about the tax rate back at home forum, and I came to meetings, and I tried to pass it on, I says, for $100,000, you're paying $1,500, and Brian just said. And I said, we were the highest tax rate in the whole, almost Renfrew County. And so it's great to see that it's gone down. Because the tax assessor, I think his name was Randy at the time, he said it should be $1,000 to $100,000. I said, no. I showed him my tax bill. He says, I can't believe it. Anyway. you
that's
did
great feedback, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to The next thing is July and August summer meeting dates.
Why are y'all looking at me?
Well, how do you I only want to meet one day?
How was it
July
done
and August?
previously?
Yes, previously we would meet once in July and once in August unless there was a burning issue.
And I will be absent after the 12th of July,
Okay,
out of country, and I'm not attending Skype, thanks.
okay.
What's the count?
But it's totally up to you guys. It was a cost savings to the taxpayer because we only met once a month.
And there really isn't a lot.
And there really isn't a lot that happens in the summertime. We get very little correspondence. People are happy because the sun is shining.
So you're out of here the 12th.
So
So
July,
Tuesday the 9th, so how would,
July 9th work?
or?
It is none of it, Dave.
That's why I
ninth.
wanted it on that.
It is. There you go.
So
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
the second Tuesday then?
Yeah.
July 9th. And then doing the same thing for August or what?
So 30 and August.
13th or what?
I cannot do the 13th.
Okay.
So unfortunately, like we do, that's committee week at county. And we've doubled them up. So I have operations in the morning and DNP in the afternoon.
So how are you getting away with July 9th? Because that's the second week.
We don't meet in July.
Oh, okay.
Although we probably will have to meet in July, but we're traditionally,
We don't.
county does not meet in July. Could we do the 6th?
Yeah, 6th is fine.
So that would be our normal meeting.
I'm fine.
Why are you so agreeable?
Well, I'm flexible. It doesn't matter to me. I make
No,
time.
no vacations?
Oh, I do my
He already did his
vacation. I
vacation.
do my vacation in April.
All right,
Yeah.
done.
By the way, the 24th of July to the 31st, that'll be in Saskatchewan.
All right, good to know. My deputy mayor taking off on me.
Yeah.
All right. That was easy peasy.
Testing on Lake Clear. For Greg, who put this on?
I did.
Oh, yes.
I had a call to find out if we wish to continue with the existing testing that's been happening, and he basically, all we have to do is pay for the test results. So I told him I would bring it to council. I thought that when he was here last time, council had indicated that they wanted to proceed with that, but I wasn't certain, so I thought I'd ask again.
So what we had said was that we were waiting for Victor Castro's pie chart prior to giving Greg the official okey dokey go ahead.
Mhm.
So
My opinion is we, for the minimal cost of what it is, we should go ahead and do it. Because if we want to get back involved, or this is what happened last time, my understanding anyways, this is what happened with the oiling of the eggs, is because they didn't have any data to fall back on. According
Could
to
you
what
say that
they.
again, sir?
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
And I'm quite interested.
Okay. I think we should be going forward with it, and the reason being is, my understanding, I'm not 100% sure, but what I was informed is because there was a lapse in the testing, therefore they had a lapse in oiling of the eggs. Of the
do they
gulls.
not have the permit for this year?
Yeah, but going forward, if you want to do it,
You need to
Year
keep the
after
stuff,
year.
keep,
You gotta
you
keep
need to
doing
do
it.
the test,
you gotta
so
keep doing it, right?
I'm okay with going ahead
What's
with
the
it.
cost, just out of curiosity?
I think he said about $1,000.
No, I don't think it was that much.
I think it was 500 or 600.
Yeah, I thought.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
He's
quite a
not,
bit
he's not
less.
charging for his fuel or anything or his time, it's just a matter of doing the testing.
okay.
So it's just,
Out of pocket
and,
expenses.
and I think right now it would make sense to stay with it because it's consistent. Consistency always works better. right?
Okay.
And as far as, we can go ahead and do this and still hear back from Victor about the pie chart. And
Okay.
I also have a question to him about, there's another website that we found some test data on. And
So,
that has to be addressed.
then I would ask that we do a resolution so that Greg has our official okey dokey. From a budgetary standpoint, we are going to have a bit of money in our conference budget. because you're not attending? Paid on it?
That's right.
Okay, so.
I'll pay for the
I was,
testing.
no, but I'm just saying, guys, we
It's true.
we just
Yeah,
had
no.
this huge conversation.
no,
on the
absolutely.
budget. Where's the $500 or $600 coming from?
Yes,
In the
no, that'll
in the
work out well.
resolution though, can we make it say, for an, like, have the at capacity section into it? The only reason I say that is because my only concern, if we test one lake, we're gonna test all the lakes, like the asked.
Yes, okay.
So that's
Yeah.
the only.
Sensitive lake.
Well, that's the only sensitive lake that we're dealing with.
So that's why I wanted to make
Just
it.
include it in the resolution so that we
Because
don't
if
have to test
you
all of them.
test one, you
Yeah.
test them
Yeah.
all, so I'd rather
Good
just
enough.
test this
No
one
problem with
sensitive
that.
lake.
Yeah.
Sounds
It's
good.
just more or less, a going forward of the existing testing that's been done.
No, and we talked about this previously, and it's a good idea. It's just a way to keep it at the
So
one
Sandra,
lake.
do you have that?
No,
Okay,
I have a note.
it was clear as mud, yeah. So, what we're asking, or what we are doing is giving our agreement that Greg Romano can go ahead with the testing of Lake Clear as an at-capacity lake. And that council will pay for it from, our conference budget line item.
Yes.
I want that stated very clearly. I love it. Yeah, Tim's paying for it. I just knew that we had about $500. that-
You're welcome. Yeah. You
Well,
can fill me in on the
The
conference.
people of Lake Clear will,
I'm
Thank you.
disappointed that you're not going, but I understand.
It's one of those things, we'll discuss it later.
And if you're not gonna be at the conference, then there's no point. Like it's, yeah,
That's
like
right.
you have to be there.
Yeah.
But I just feel that we can't preach to our department heads about, just because you have the money. So we had to find where we were gonna spend it from.
okay. Number 4, juniors, seniors.
No, seniors month.
Seniors month.
So we have I just got.
June is seniors month.
June is seniors
There
month.
you go.
Oh, June is seniors.
I thought he
month.
said junior
I
seniors.
did.
June,
That's it,
Yeah.
that is what he said.
That's
June is
exactly what I
seniors.
heard.
That is exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Junior,
yeah.
senior.
Or humor.
We can go
Yeah, you're
back
a junior, senior.
we can go back on Hootie and find out what
Oh,
he
that's
said.
fine.
So, we do have a resolution to be passed tonight to declare, Bonnechere Valley, June is seniors month. Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Item number 5, you had correspondence?
Yes, so I forwarded you, this correspondence, which I just received. I understand that by Friday, we will have sort of an answer as to where we go. But is there another entity, Brian, that can be called as opposed to the OPP? Because the OPP came and they were quite worried about the dog, but didn't have the capacity to take the dog. So is there some other animal control?
Tammy's getting the call. She happened to have been in Ottawa when she got a voicemail message and the officer was not clear. So I just finished talking to her about this. That matter's already been looked after.
Okay, then.
And I'll be speaking with our bylaw enforcement officer on Monday to determine his future status with him.
Excellent. All right. That is a challenge when we don't have 48-hour, 24-hour a day, 7-day a week bylaw enforcement. And it's a shame that, she's gone for that time period. But yeah, I would have pulled this from the docket. My apologies.
Okay, and my number 6 has already been addressed in correspondence. So,
Yep.
so anything more from the media?
Yeah, first thing, so do we have somebody at the pound? Like, that's
Tammy
continuing to operate?
Rosner's been looking after the animal shelter.
Okay.
Since Steve left, and she'd been part-time there helping prior to that.
All right. So the first question that I have, like, the tree canopy that was in the correspondence, like, you guys have never put in a policy or anything on that, right?
No, we have not.
Okay. Are you going to be, or?
No, we are not.
No.
All right, because we know it has caused issues in neighboring municipalities.
Do you want to address this?
our needs have been met under the county's official plan.
Okay,
I have no need to pass a local bylaw because we are part of the plan.
okay, so the other question that I have is after the meeting that started at noon, so what is council's understanding is happening with the boardwalk?
I think that's a wait and see.
Okay. But the direction had been given for Bill to meet with the group?
Yes.
Like,
But yes, that's direction has been given, but also it's, my interpretation of what happened is the outstanding invoices have to be addressed. And before this goes forward. That's my take on it. Tim or Merv, you have any?
Yes, I agree.
And I'll report back to council tomorrow if the group exists or not.
And all I was trying to do was find some negotiation.
when was the decision made about Bill being a liaison with the group? I don't remember.
At a meeting that he wasn't at apparently.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Okay, I believe it came
Was it
about
maybe after close or something?
the end of April
Mhm.
to your May EACDG meeting.
It was prior to me going on holidays.
Then it was our last March meeting, and it would have been your April.
Yeah, and I said that, I think that was our previous meeting, that they've always been
Oh, yeah.
fine with
Yeah,
Bill
yeah.
overseeing the construction end of it.
I think they were quite pleased about it, actually.
Well, they're perfectly
Yeah.
fine. They're willing to work with the municipality for, with Bill.
Yeah.
He has a lot of experience.
You know what, Deb, I think Bruce McIntyre covered that meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
So is it fair for me to say that the ball's sort of in their court right now?
Yeah, once the invoices and
Well,
stuff are looked after.
I would think right now, the way it stands right now, we have the majority of the council wants the invoices paid out, outstanding invoices before we go forward, because we don't feel that our taxpayers should be paying for something. There's a difference of opinion between council and the committee. I believe the council can correct me if I'm wrong or not, but I believe the majority of council agrees that they went outside of the work permit. That's why this action was taken, and therefore they should be responsible for the action taken. And I don't know if Merv and Tim want to add up to that or not, but or whoever wants to add to it. That's my take on it anyways.
My take on it was that mistakes were made and monies were spent. And what I was trying to do was come to an agreement with the crew that we would share in the cost because prior council had committed that we would participate in the boardwalk project up to the tune of 10,000. I don't believe that in our budget year we have 10,000, but I certainly think that because it ultimately will be our boardwalk and it will be a municipal asset, that there is nothing wrong in contributing. Is this the way I wanted to contribute? No, it is not. I wanted to be able to buy boards and to put, Bonnechere Council 2018 to 2022 on it. This is not the way I wanted to contribute, but if it somehow can make us all come together and move forward in a positive way and not go backwards and dwell on things that we cannot fix now, then it was my feeling that we could have come to an agreement.
And so that's about $9,000 now after that cliche one was taken on.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is if we could have contributed half of it, so say $4,500, then that's basically we don't have any more money in our budget or in our reserves. But we do, prior council really wanted to be a part of this project. And so whether it's in kind and obviously Bill is going to be doing some in-kind work, I was just hoping to come to some sort of negotiation.
So I guess, Brian, those invoices were paid by the municipality. Like, these people aren't sitting there waiting for
They're not
their.
outstanding.
It's not
The
outstanding.
supplier-
You're
the
just wanting
suppliers
the group
Yes,
to
we-
reimburse.
Suppliers aren't out any money.
They're set up as a
We-
accounts receivable.
We've just went through a really tough budget.
Right.
Right? And we can't be asking the people of the municipality to pay for bills from things that have been incurred from other people's mistakes. It's not fair. There's a lot of people out there that, you know what, some people don't think that $20 is very much, but to a lot of people, that's a loaf of bread and a bag of milk, you know? So I really have to take their dollars and cents and keep it into perspective when I make decisions at this table. It's not that I want to stop seeing things go forward. I just have to be responsible to the other 3,500 residents in the municipality as well. So there's a lot of people that I have to listen to through the day, and I hear their concerns. And I've heard concerns after reading Meeting the Leader about, hey, what's this costing? And there's other things now, and I mean it's something we really have to take a step back and see really who has to have the fair shake at the end of the day.
How much was the bill that the municipality had to pay?
That was, we just said.
9,000.
9,000. And what was the work that was done to kind of incur the $9,000?
There was
Compaction.
material added to the boardwalk. There was some compaction done. Basically, there was work done to try and remedy material that wasn't within.
That wasn't budgeted for?
Well, it wasn't within.
No.
It wasn't within the work permit, basically,
Okay.
or it was outside. So
So, and my last question would be, is there going to be an EGC meeting coming up again anytime soon? Like,
Yes, I think we're going to have to, as shareholders, call a meeting.
okay,
So we have a few things. Obviously, this isn't the table to do it at, and Jack is sitting here, but we're going to have to discuss the board structure. Obviously, we all know that Ron Tom submitted his resignation. So do we go ahead with the board, or do we revert back to the way it was with council as the board? Obviously, in the absence of Jack. We do have a couple of things that have come up, like this offer of the gentleman that said that he'd come and look at the turbines. So certainly something we need to discuss with our operator to find out what is our go forward move.
so we don't have a date for a meeting? or
No.
anything like that?
No, even though we don't need notice, I think I would prefer to give notice.
Great, that's all the questions I had, thanks. Thank you.
I just have one about the bylaw about chickens and roosters in town. So is that just Eganville or all of Bonnechere Valley?
No. The bylaw for the 4 chickens is just Eganville. Oh, maybe and Foymount, and Foymount.
Urban.
Maybe Cormac too.
Yeah.
Always better to leave on a light tone, guys.
Yeah.
Chicken.
And that came forward because a resident was complaining about the noise from rooster.
Yes, and you only allowed 4 chickens, no roosters.
You can't have turkey.
I believe the bylaws probably on our website.
Oh, yeah, it would be.
Bylaws on our website. I believe there's also a permit involved in it.
Yeah. Yes, because they have to have a specific structure, coop, whatever you want to call it.
So they
Yeah.
don't run free into the road or whatever.
Yeah. Why did the chicken run into the road?
Crossroads.
Because it didn't have appropriate housing.
There you go.
Yeah, they have to have fencing and all that stuff.
Okay, cool. That's all my questions.
Awesome sauce.
Okay. I guess then we'll have to, we're gonna have to go into close, right? We have a closed session on
I
that.
just need 5 minutes.
Yeah, but
Good.
I don't think there's anything else then for committee.
Nope.
I think that's everything.
Nope, but we do need a resolution to go into close for a personnel matter. and you might want to turn Hootie off with, and the audio.
Did I answer your question?
Okay.
Sandra?
No.
Do we need to do a resolution?